All set? Great. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. All members are expected to be in the meeting room. All members participating in the meeting will be present in the meeting room. The public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted in this meeting's agenda. This meeting is being recorded. Why don't we go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll go from there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, I'm just killing time here. All right, we're going to give it a minute. Our two other members are now present. Thank you for joining. We just did the pledge, so we're ready for public comment, but I wanted you guys to be here for that. So first up on the agenda following the pledge is public forum. Residents are invited to share ideas, opinions, or ask questions regarding their town government. Is anyone here this evening to address the board? Please. The gentleman that used to look like the Santa Claus got a haircut.
Apologize, my color ink ran out this afternoon, so you guys only got black and white copies, but my subject today is water supply protection. First item is that wellhead protection is very simple. For your Zone 1, follow the DEP regulations. 2, for those Zone 1 incursions that you can't get rid of, like Fruit Street and Pratt Road, basically limit salt use and have a spill response in case there's an accident on the road. Maybe you have to look at drainage too. 3, remove the office building paved surfaces and field from Zone 1 as per the MEPA approved Fruit Street plan, because basically we've proven, as I talked about last time, that we just aren't managing those properly. And those items, like the office and whatever, about 20 years ago were requested to be out of that area. Fence and mark the area Zone 1 to exclude access. Clean up the area around Zone 1. I mean, a lot of Fruit Street looks like a dump on that entranceway on Pratt Road. And 4, enforce water resources overlay protections bylaw. Now I'm going to go to the other side of town. On Legacy Farms, you have 3 areas where they're on the open space parcel, which is not an allowed use. They're storing equipment for maintenance. 2 of them on the north side have open salt storage area, which are also not allowed by the Water Resources Protection District. We should have the planning board enforce the fact that equipment and salt storage is not an approved use for the Legacy Farms open space parcels, and we ought to have the zoning enforcement officer enforce the salt storage areas. 40% of our water in the summertime comes from the Hopkinton Reservoir. Those salt things go right directly into it, and if you're on a low salt diet, that doesn't help. And lastly, and I've got pictures of that in there of the 3 or 4 sites. I'm sorry, the 3 sites. And if you had and Elaine has color copies, or you can actually see the salt and just laying out on the ground. And the last slide is water protection is everyone's responsibility. Dispose of your household chemicals, cleaners, unused drugs, and paints properly. If you put it into the sewer system, it might get into the water system. Second of all, street catch basins should only be used for disposal of rainwater and melted snow. In my neighborhood, we had a guy that was picking up after his dog, putting it in nice plastic bags, throwing it down the catch basin, and then at the other side of the pipe, it was coming out on an open space parcel. Kind of disgusting. Not good for whatever. And also maybe roof drains can be recharged into the ground, because that's what we're trying to do, is recharge our aquifers. Thank you very much. That's a Cliff Notes version on water supply protection today.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. I sense a future agenda item coming here following the last few weeks of public comment. Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Please.
Hello. Karen Crum, 12 Joseph Road. Realizing this is the last meeting of the year, at about 4:15 today, I thought,
I didn't even think of that.
I know,
Yeah.
it's been a crazy year. I just drove down a few notes because I know this has been quite the year, quite the ending, but I just want to ask fellow citizens that watch the meetings, listen to the meetings, whatever, to please come out and take part in your town, and to please remember that while we have elected 5 select board members to lead us, we really need to speak about what we want to see and hope that the will of the people will preside as it's supposed to be honest. Some of the things this year, there's been great things too, don't get me wrong, but I still can't get past that we have someone who was accused and investigated, indicted and arraigned on 3 counts of rape, being John Porter. The town had him on paid leave for 8 months, accept his resignation, and then allows him to retire, therefore paying him for half his health insurance as a retired employee. He could have been suspended, made him pay his health insurance, let the criminal case play out. And then Tim Brennan is accused of violating a policy. He's placed on leave, investigated by Kroll. He's charged with some policies that didn't even exist and was eventually fired. The Post Commission finds the policies didn't give him great options to report. The Post found this. And now he was working for another police department. That is crazy to me, and I don't know why that hasn't really settled in with the board, that it has been shown by others in charge that this is just wrong. Tonight, Scott Van Ralton will be promoted to deputy chief. The same person who was promoted to lieutenant 8 months ago. He's probably the only person that we've promoted in the police department within 8 months that has the most internal investigations out on him. The last time he was promoted, the deciding vote that promoted was, ironically, from Shadul, who minutes earlier had told us about racial incidents against him that have happened in this town. We're the only person in the police department that's being investigated for racial events is Scott Van Ralton. This makes no sense to me. I don't know how our tax dollars are being spent. I can't even believe the things that have happened. And I'll say, Mary Jo, I feel sad for you. I really do. I'm really sorry things have happened to you. I appreciate your comments that you have made, taking responsibility. And unfortunately, I feel like I tell my kids all the time, people remember the beginning and the end. I really hope that isn't the case for you, because you've done so much for our town, but there have been a lot of bad decisions this year, just a lot of them, and I hope that this ends. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. The Select Board will consider the following consent agenda: at ABCC seasonal population estimate. The Select Board will consider approving a seasonal population estimate of 18,893 residents for 2025. The estimate is an annual requirement of the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission, the ABCC, and is based on 2020 U.S. Census data. Accept a gift. The Select Board will consider accepting a gift of $100 from the Trails Club to the Public Library. And item C, Board and Committee appointments. The Select Board will consider appointing Brian Colella as a full member of the Historical Commission, moving him from an associate to a full member to a term expiring June 30th, 2025. Does anybody want to break out any item, please?
No.
All good? Okay. There's a motions document here. I assume the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous and so carries. We're headed to 20,000 residents here pretty soon.
Fast.
Item number 4. Happy but sad. Elaine, please.
On the agenda this evening is acknowledging 2 retiring long-term employees, Sarah Hunter, who has 16 years of service at the Public Library, and Matt Bailey, who served as a firefighter for 23 years.
Great.
Can they come up?
Yeah, if anybody, we'd love to have you folks join us if that's possible. You're okay with that? Those that are here? Welcome.
This is Jack. Come sit with me, Jack.
Welcome,
Thank you.
How are you this evening? Feeling light?
I'm feeling great. Yeah. A little apprehensive, you know. It's a big change, and I'm going to be sad to be leaving everybody at the library, but I'm feeling good. Yeah.
The library's
On
come.
behalf of Sarah?
I'm sorry?
May I speak on behalf of?
Absolutely.
Of Sarah? I just want to say a few words on behalf of the library, just to recognize Sarah and all of her accomplishments over the course of time. Sarah has seen us through times of change like no other. We have changed as a town over the time that Sarah has been with us. When she started with us, we were a town that was much smaller than we are now. We were in a library that was much smaller than we are now. And she saw us through the renovation. She spearheaded that change. She saw us through changing how we run as a staff and informed those decisions. And most importantly, Sarah has acted as a mentor to every single librarian on staff. And she has been the most influential and important human being in our library. I don't know if we can express our gratitude to Sarah adequately, because her mentorship has been instrumental in creating a culture of acceptance and belonging, and creating a place for everybody to be that wants to be there. She has taught us how to use spreadsheets, kicking and screaming. She has also taught us that it's okay not to know something and to need to look to guidance for others. And we've all looked to Sarah for that guidance. And she's leaving this gaping hole in our hearts.
Oh, Jack.
But she's going to move on to do greater things. She's looking forward to becoming a powerhouse of advocacy in our community. And I just want to express how much we're going to miss her so dearly. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak, but also thank you for recognizing her too.
Those are very kind words. Thank you. Mr. Madan.
No, congratulations, and thank you, Sarah, for all the good work and dedication that you have done so much for our town. We are grateful, and thank you again. And you will definitely be remembered, as your colleagues are saying, and I hear the same from the entire town. So thank you again for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
As the friend
Well, I just echo the thanks, and the whole town thanks you. Not just this board, I think, for everything you've done and for all the use of the library. The children, the teenagers, and the adults all owe you a debt of gratitude.
Amy?
Thank you for your service. It was great to hear from Jack, too, and all that you've done over the years, and it's really appreciated. And I'm sure you'll find ways to fill your days that are even more fulfilling, different, but things that you're passionate about. So enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your service to the town and really wish you the best in your what's next.
Sarah, thank you very much. You've been there during the transformation of the Hopkinton Public Library. You know, the fascinating thing about the library to me is it represents the, Hopkinton of old and the new Hopkinton, literally and figuratively, right? You look at the building, you look at the space, you see the history of the Hopkinton Library, the history of Hopkinton in general, certainly in the center of town, and then you see the new addition and all that's going on there and what it's meant to the community. I think you being there that long is a testament to the job you've done, and certainly, you've helped us navigate some tough waters, as we did transform as a town and as the library did transform. And we thank you for that very much. You've earned a fabulous retirement, and we hope it is such.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in this evening, and best wishes to you. Good luck.
It's great.
Don't know if Matt Bailey is able to join us this evening. I don't see him, right, Joe? Joe, do you want to go first and just share a little bit about Matt?
Sure.
It's only 23 years on the fire department.
Yeah, I think, trying to remember, I was definitely young when Matt joined the department, and it was a lot smaller at the time. But I know, mostly, through my brief interactions with him over the years, and more telling to me, how my dad viewed him as a firefighter and as a person, that was enough of an endorsement for me about, how Matthew was, with this department, the service to the town. So I really just wish him the best. I know he does nursing as well, and I think he's going to focus more on that in his retirement from the fire department. So really excited and happy for Matt, and we will miss him.
There you go.
Well, I came from a firefighting family, and I just have the most respect for firefighters, particularly this time of year. They spend a lot of time at working and doing holidays and things, and I can remember we had many Christmas dinners at 7, 8, and 9 o'clock at night because one of our firefighters had to work. So I have full respect for anybody who can dedicate that many years to that job. It's tough.
Great, thank you. Amy?
Yeah, didn't know him. I didn't know him, but I would like to thank him for his years of service, and it's good to hear from other people who did know him and his work. I hope he has a wonderful retirement.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I do for the same. Anyone serving for 23 years in our fire department has done tremendous service to our town, to our community, to our residents, and we are grateful. So thank you, Matt, and really commend your service, and all the best for your next endeavor.
Having served on the board many of those 23 years that Matt was around, the work of the Hopkinton Fire Department has always been exemplary. I saw it sitting here on the board, and then I saw it when my house caught on fire many years ago. And Hopkinton came and Milford came, and it was quite the scene. I was out there with a garden hose trying to put out the fire, and they told me to get away. And then they came in, and boom, they took care of it. But it was quite a process. So I saw it firsthand how they conduct themselves and the work that they do. And I've always been very, very impressed with all of them. And Matt certainly has been around a long time, and he will be missed. We wish him the absolute best in his retirement, and I hope that we'll be taking care of both of these great employees with some kind of recognition. Formal recognition, maybe a documented recognition of some kind in the near future. Okay. Thank you. Thanks to Matt. Okay. With that, we'll move to item number 5, which is a farmer's license. Is this a public hearing? No. Farmer's market license for the Hopkinton Winters Farmers Market. The Select Board will considering a Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 15F, Farmer's Market license for the Rushford and Sons Brew House to sell beer at the Hopkinton Farmers Market on Sundays from January 5th to March 15th. I'll spare some of the other details listed in the agenda.
All the paperwork is in place, and I looked at all the paperwork and everything, so I think we should go ahead and okay this.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I move to issue the farmer's market license to Rushford and Sons Brew House to sell beer at the Hopkinton Farmers Market on Sundays from January 5th, 2025 to March 16th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Just that I'm happy that the farmers market is continuing to grow. I think it's been a tremendous summer with the good work that they have done, and residents enjoyed it. Now it's indoors. Please join them, and they're adding more and more attractive vendors, so that's great.
Okay. Anybody else? All the paperwork from public safety and all the approvals from public safety are in place, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe the applicant may be on Zoom if you have any questions.
Okay. Do we have the applicant on Zoom, Amy?
There's someone named Lori and someone named Mary Z. Are either of those the applicant? There's no last names.
They would raise their hand.
What's that?
They would raise their.
Yeah, raise your hand if you're here to speak about the brewery.
No?
Hand raised.
Okay. I think we're good. So we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Item number 6, new police officers. The Select Board will consider appointing the following: Peter Lord, candidate for police officer, a lateral transfer; Eva Kahn, academy candidate for police officer; and Jennifer Manning, academy candidate for police officer. We have 3 individuals. Are all 3 individuals here with us this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chief Bennett, if you would join us at the table, and perhaps if you want to bring all 3 candidates at one time, it's probably the best way to do this. Is that all right? So I don't think we have to do them individually. Okay. Elaine, we're 5 minutes early on this agenda item. I don't think that's a problem. Do you?
No, it's fine.
Okay. So Chief Bennett, welcome. I know you come in and hang out with us on a regular basis. Some of your new colleagues probably not been through this process before. Welcome to you folks as well. Don't worry about it. We're going to figure it all out, but there might be some questions. It's all good stuff. So relax and enjoy it. Chief Bennett, please.
Through Mr. Chair to the board, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to carve out some time to bring forward some new members of the Hopkinton Police family, and hopefully you'll approve them and appoint them. I want to thank Human Resources, again, for all they've done. I mean, the pedal has been to the metal in support of HPD. They, between recruitment, they start with a large pool of candidates. They work to whittle it down. And I think you've seen that we've brought a lot of really good candidates. And I know that tonight you're going to see the same thing. I feel that you're going to be very impressed with these candidates. I was, or they wouldn't be sitting here. I want to thank Lieutenant Van Ralton for spearheading with HR all the onboarding and people that were brought on. And I know the question's going to come up. If you choose to hire these 3, we'll be at 28, a size we've never been. And the other open position has a tentative offer out there with most of the process done. So with that, Lieutenant Van Ralton, would you like to introduce them, maybe starting with Peter?
Good evening. Peter Lord comes to us from Northeastern University. So he's academy trained with the Plymouth Academy. He'll be what we consider a lateral transfer. He comes, I believe, with just over a year experience at Northeastern, got his degree at Northeastern, and is from Ashland, living in Milford, and works definitely excited to have somebody that has some background, some training. We've also stolen another officer, Officer Zanity from Northeastern. So.
Stolen? Isn't that against the law to steal? Go ahead.
Next, we have Jennifer Manning. She is a Marlboro resident. We also stole her from Marlboro. So the day that she interviewed with us, she also had an interview in Marlboro, and we made a conditional offer, and she accepted. She went through our process. She is slated to attend the Boylston Academy January 21st. She's completed all the necessary paperwork, background, physical, PT test, and she'll be ready to go for January.
Okay.
And Eva Can, she comes to us from Medway, where she's a dispatcher, which is a unique trait to have as a police officer, to understand what happens on the other side of the desk. And I think she brings some great qualities as a police officer with that background. She is also slated to attend the Boylston Academy January 21st of next year, and she has also completed all the necessary background, physical training, and psychologicals.
Great. Thank you very much. Do we want to just follow, like, kind of go from this end to that end and just have the candidates say hello and maybe share a quick thought or two about their interest in serving the residents of Hopkinton as a police officer?
Thank you for having me here tonight. As Lieutenant said, my name is Eva Can. I grew up in Blackstone, and I attended the Blackstone-Millville Regional High School. I now reside in Millville, so I didn't stray too far. I went on to complete my bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, which I completed back in 2022. After graduating, I then went on to apply and become a full-time dispatcher in the town of Medway, dispatching police, fire, and EMS, which is a job that I will be forever grateful for. I've learned a lot and had a ton of great experiences with the department. During my time, the last 2 years dispatching in Medway, I was able to complete my master's degree as well. So I completed my master's in criminal justice from Southern New Hampshire University in May of this year. And the big question is, why not Medway? Unfortunately, they are a civil service town, which means it requires residency preference to appear high enough on their candidate list, which I am not a resident, so I do not appear high enough. I sought out advice of the Chief Kingsbury over in Medway, and his recommendation was to research some surrounding towns, see which towns matched up with the qualities and values that I enjoyed so much in Medway, which led me to Hopkinton, which luckily for me was hiring shortly thereafter. So I'm excited to work in a community that values community policing as well as community engagement, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. Thank you very much. Well done. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Peter Lord. I'm currently a police officer at Northeastern University. I spent most of my childhood in the next town over in Ashland. I went to Northeastern University, did my bachelor's in criminal justice, political science. After that, I did some security for a little bit, and then went right back to Northeastern and dispatched with them for a little bit. Then I got the call to go to the academy. I graduated Plymouth January of this year, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. Currently live in Milford right now, so I've been in Hopkinton quite a bit. Whether, going between, my family's house in Ashland or coming back from work, or kind of just living in the area. From what I've seen, this is, a very close-knit community. Seems very safe, a great place to, kind of raise a family. And that's something I kind of want to do in the near future. So I'm grateful for the opportunity again, and excited to get started.
Great. Thank you very much. Well done.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Manning. I'm from Marlborough, Massachusetts. Born and raised. I've lived there for the last 27 years. I went to high school at Worcester Academy in Worcester. I got recruited to play hockey for a Division III school in upstate New York. I went to SUNY Plattsburgh, spent 4 years there, got my bachelor's in political science with minors in criminal justice and legal studies. Post-college, I graduated in 2020, so we entered into the pandemic, which was an interesting world for all of us, especially as a recent grad. From there, I decided to take a job in Worcester as the director of operations for the Worcester Whitehawks, which is a youth girls hockey program out of the Worcester Ice Center. From there, I joined the Massachusetts State Police as a cadet. I was part of their first class that they ever did, so we were kind of the guinea pigs of that program. Kind of showed us the ins and outs of law enforcement. what it takes to be a member of law enforcement in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and just in general. I'm super grateful to the state police for everything that they taught me over the course of a year and a half, and I'll take that into my new position here in Hopkinton. I look forward to working in the town. So far, everyone I've worked with through Human Resources and through the department has been absolutely amazing, very professional in all of my meetings. So I'm super happy to join a department in a town that has great qualities like that.
Great, thank you. Well done. Okay, while we don't interview per se, we do certainly love to get to know everybody a little bit. So, Mr. Manon, you got anything you want to share or ask a question or so?
Yeah, no, I think more kind of sharing, and we could hear from the wonderful candidates about a little bit about their stories. And it goes for everyone. What motivated you to join Hopkinton, and how do you see your transition into this role in this town?
To me?
We're going to go right down the line.
Oh, right down the line.
Go this way backwards, yeah.
So Hopkinton stuck out to me. Obviously, you guys are home to the start of the Boston Marathon, so you have visitors from all corners of the earth that come and run this race. So that stuck out to me as a huge key point. You get to do a lot of different things that other departments in the state don't get to do because there's so much that goes into securing the start of the marathon. And that's not just a process that takes a week or two to prepare for. That's a year advance process to get ready for. So I look forward to seeing that and everything that the department has to offer in terms of professional development. I know we talked about it in our field training presentation the other day, that there's going to be a lot of fluidity in the position, and new positions will be opening up within the next 5 to 7 years. So that kind of stuck out to me as a good point professionally moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, like I said, I'm kind of from this area. My family's put down roots over here, and I kind of want to follow in their path. Like I said, the community seems very close-knit, great place to raise a family, and that's kind of the big motivation for me to come here. And like she said as well, with the marathon and, that special event, you kind of get to be a part of something bigger, kind of get to see, people from different walks of life kind of coming together here, so.
Thank you.
No pressure going third at all.
As I touched upon before, I do enjoy the community aspect of policing, which have been able to see in my previous experience working in Medway, and Hopkinton offers community events like the fishing derby, concert on the commons, such as that I would like to be a part of. I think my transition over to Hopkinton and into the role of a police officer will be a smooth one. I have experience working in a department that's not only in service partners with Hopkinton Police Department, but is of similar size and structure as well, so I think it'll be a smooth transition.
Thank you. I just want to add that it's great to have such wonderful candidates. Thank you all for choosing Hopkinton, and welcome and congratulations. I'm sure you'll have a fantastic career with our wonderful police force. So welcome, and thank you again. And I also want to note that it's really heartening to see how our police department has grown and transformed in the last 2 years in the middle of all the challenges that we all had to go through. And I commend our chief and his right hand for their leadership. I commend all the good work our police force has put together and endured through this time. And I feel really good that we are, having such wonderful candidates, diverse police force, and we are, I think, fully in full recruitment, which is also historic in decades. So really happy to see that, and congratulations to our entire police force for going through this and really transforming for better. Thank you.
Through the chair, if I could thank you for the entire department. Thank you.
Thanks. All good? Good. Mr. Clark.
No questions. I'm just really excited to see the department, like Mr. Manon alluded to, filling up, getting to the point where it's meeting the needs of the town, how much it's grown. I love hearing that some of our candidates had other options. They chose Hopkinton. As someone that's born and raised in Hopkinton, I'm very passionate about that. So I just, I loved all your backgrounds. Thank you all. I look forward to seeing you all in town.
Mr. Bush.
Thank you.
I don't think I have any specific questions. You guys did really great overviews when you introduced yourselves, and a lot of the questions I would typically ask were answered through that process. So I really appreciate it and would like to welcome you. And I really think the dispatch experience is really good, and it's going to help you in your career here. And anyway, so we're welcome aboard.
Well, as candidates, and you talk about Hopkinton and coming to join the force and everything, all you have to do is look around the room and see all the other folks that are here this evening and the support they give each other and the support that they give the community and the numbers of them, talking about filling out the department, that are here tonight, which is, I think, a great testament to what's going on these days. And we're really excited to have you three join us. I think you'll have great careers here and have a lot of fun. And yes, the Boston Marathon, which we all know and love, creates some very interesting public safety opportunities to learn. So good thinking on that part. Okay, with that, the chair will entertain 3 motions. We're going to do this one at a time. Sorry, my typical question. All budgeted, all in the numbers, all that good financial stuff, right?
Yes, sir, all budgeted, all approved prior to this fiscal year and budgeted in this
Nothing
fiscal
takes
year.
us over budget or anything like that?
No, sir.
At what point are we going to be at the budget for the year? That, are we getting close, I would think?
When we bring on the 29th person, then we'll be at full budget.
And that'll max, but that's the budget is to 29.
Yes. The budget is for 29, and then the 29 total sworn officers.
And it's at 29 for the full year, so we still probably have a little free cash maybe coming.
Absolutely, sir.
No such thing as free cash. It's a municipal term. Don't
It goes back to
get confused.
back to the town.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Clark. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to move the motion, but
Yeah, go right ahead, please. You spoke up.
I move to appoint Peter Lord as a police officer for the town of Hopkinton.
Okay. We have a motion on the table and a second to appoint Peter Lord as a police officer. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries 4-0. Mr. Manon.
I think Joe want to do the next.
Mr. Clark.
I move to conditionally offer Ava Khan a position as police officer for the town of Hopkinton, subject to the successful completion of the academy training.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for Ava. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous 4-0 vote. Thank you. Mrs. Ritterbusch.
I move to conditionally offer Jennifer Manning a position as police officer for the town of Hopkinton, subject to the successful completion of the academy training.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table for Jennifer. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries 4-0 vote. All right, great. Congratulations to all 3 of you and welcome to the town of Hopkinton and the great police force we have here. So we'd like to do a picture with all of you and all of your colleagues, everybody in the front of the room, please, and we'll try and squeeze them all in. Thank you.
All right.
Elaine and Lance, you guys would join us with this, please. Sure.
Not sure there'll be room.
Yeah.
Stand on the desk.
I mean, I know we've done it, but first meeting. Huh? Yeah, I think there's too many of them. Yeah, they can just do it. We don't have to be there. We'll go back.
Stand on our chairs.
Stools or something?
Oh, it's very necessary.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. This is about the 3 of them and the rest of the team. Amy, you want to? She's kind of. There's pictures up top too. Do we have everybody in the pit? There are a couple of retirees in the room that we could encourage to come forward too.
Guys, get in here.
That was a joke. All right. Shall I go in here? Okay.
Eyes here, please. John, hold on. Smile, guys. Check. One more. For the chief. We're good.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you. Up top. Up top.
Merrill?
Great job, everybody. Good luck. Thank you. Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I'd rather just keep going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys aren't going anywhere.
All right. Next up is item number 7 on the agenda. The Select Board will consider accepting the recommendation by Police Chief Joseph Bennett and appoint Scott Van Ralton as Deputy Police Chief. The recommendation follows a consultant-led process in which multiple candidates were interviewed and assessed. Is Jessica joining us this evening? No? Can you walk us through that process then? Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't we start? I want to start with the process that led us to where we are this evening, and then we'll come back out, okay? Are you okay with that now? Okay. All right, why don't we go ahead and let's understand the process that we followed. But before you go, Elaine, for those that don't follow things that closely, right after the election in May of 2024, the board, while it had the opportunity to consider filling this position, opted not to fill it for a time so that the new members could get their head around what was going on in the department, what was going on in town, the board itself, et cetera, et cetera. So we put a pause on the process back in, I think, May or early June. So that everybody could kind of get on the same page, at least in terms of other things that were going on. So we really haven't got into this discussion much since, so we'll do that tonight. But the reason, I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that there was a pause and that this process had been down the road quite a distance before we hit pause. Is that a fair representation of what we did earlier in the year? Everybody good with that? Okay. All right, so with that backdrop, Elaine, if you could describe the process that was in place then and what went on pause and why we're here this evening.
Thank you. For this recruitment, the town contracted the services of Public Safety Consultants, LLC, who worked closely with the Human Resources Director to facilitate this entire process. The consultant worked with the town on the job description and the recruitment materials, which were publicly advertised, and the consultant screened and worked with the applicants. A committee was formed to support the recruitment process, and this included Chief Bennett, myself, Muriel Kramer, former Select Board member, Patricia Duarte of the Personnel Committee, and Chief Hicks of the Natick Police Chief, and Jessica Leverins. The committee reviewed the application materials, reviewed written assignments, and conducted oral interviews with 6 candidates on April 30th, 2024 and May 1st, 2024. And 4 candidates were identified to participate in an assessment center that was held on May 16th, 2024. And I can let Joe take it from here, from the assessment process.
Sure. So the history of the assessment center goes back to the first iteration of the Secret Service. And what it does is it emulates the challenges that an executive leader would face, disgruntled employees, an upset customer, or in our instance, a resident, managing workload, interview, and they're actually scored based on certain things that they're expected to do, including with the employee follow-up, set up a program where they follow up with the expected behavior moving forward. So the assessment center are rigorous. I've been through them. Sometimes they're 4 hours, sometimes they're 2 days. I know the company that has put this forward. I have gone through their process, and it is rigorous. And it does really give a tell of someone's capability, because although it's a performance, you have to know what's expected, and you have to prepare for it as if it's an exam, and you have to be able to genuinely demonstrate it. So I think it is a great indicator of someone at the executive level, deputy and above, and I would recommend it continue going forward. So then we went on to an interview, and again, Lieutenant Van Ralton came out on the top on the interview that involved that panel that we spoke of, Town Manager Lazarus reported to you. And then it comes down to basically, we're here tonight, and my recommendation, based on the fact that Lieutenant Van Ralton, as a sergeant, as a union member, said the role of second in command the moment the deputy left. And he did so with the support and backing of the other sergeants. And as I've said many times, the other sergeants stepped up and began performing duties above their grade. And their skill sets, and you've met a couple of them, the department has really, really evolved over the last 2 years. That was mentioned earlier. It really has. The department has organically become built out in its leadership, in its roles and responsibilities. I'm confident that if you put an org chart up and crafted the future of the department with all these officers, they'd all write the same names in going forward. So I can't speak enough to Lieutenant Van Ralton's resilience and resolve. He's been pushed and challenged, and he was working alongside me 60, 80 hours a week, phone in hand, sleeping with the phone next to us. And really, when he made lieutenant, was probably the first decent night's sleep I've had since August of 2022, where I felt like I had a partner who was being outside the union is significant. It really is. It's a difficult balancing act to be a second in command and function as a second in command when you're in the union. And Lieutenant Van Ralton was exemplary. So tonight, I'd like to recommend Lieutenant Scott Van Ralton to the position of Deputy Chief. I feel he's earned it, and I feel going forward, he's the person for the job.
Okay, thank you. Still on the process, just for a minute, because I want to be very clear and very transparent about all. If I remember correctly, at the time we got elected, I believe there were 3 candidates possibly still in the mix. Is that correct? So, and maybe you touched on it, and I was making a note on something else, but we have 1 candidate before us this evening, right? Obviously. So the other 2 candidates, how did that play out, or how did that not play out, or what are the thoughts on that? And I'll come back to you, Chief, on that too. Just from a process perspective, Elaine, any thoughts on that?
So HR department has been working with the other candidates and let them know that Scott Van Ralton is the recommended appointee this evening.
So even if we had continued on the path in May or June, July, whenever we were going to get to it, with the new board constituted, it still could have come down to 1 candidate coming before us. Is that correct? Okay. Chief, is that your understanding? Would that have played out that way? And do you understand what I'm saying about what happened to the other 2? I want to make sure that we're being fair and equitable in how we process here.
Absolutely. Just as a matter of, you had mentioned 3 candidates, there were 4. And all through the process, every part of it, I saw Lieutenant Van Ralton was the front runner.
Those 4 were the finalists, correct? They weren't the only 4 in the whole mix?
Out of the entire process, they were the 4 that went to the assessment center and participated in the interview.
Got it.
So they made it through the entire process.
All right, great. All right, so with that, we have a recommendation from the chief. Now I would go to the board and seek their questions, input, ideas. Why don't we start with Mrs. Ritterbusch, if that's okay?
Sure. And we can ask interview type questions too, right? Or,
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and I know you're a very experienced officer, so I know you'll know these answers. But so can you talk a little bit about restorative justice, the court diversion programs, crisis intervention teams and programs we have around here, and your experience with them in your years?
So approximately 10 years ago, we had brought in a clinician through advocates, and she was a regional clinician. We've had a number of different clinicians over the years to help us with restorative justice and assist individuals in need and in the marginalized citizens of our community with getting the resources that they need. Recently, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the next month or so, our new clinician will come before you and be introduced. She is going to be combined with Holliston and Sherburne, so we'll share her between the three communities. And her primary focus is to assist the officers and the community with our marginalized citizens.
Thank you.
Good? Okay. Joe?
Lieutenant, you've obviously been in the department a long time. Can you just talk about kind of your experiences over time, how they've evolved? You know, you've clearly, as Chief alluded to, been a leader in the department for a little while now, but can you talk about how, you know, that's kind of changed, things you've learned from over time?
Sure. So, you know, to give a full picture, I've spent over half my life in the town of Hopkinton, never once being a resident. I started as a Boy Scout. Sean? Fellow Boy Scout in Troop 1. We attained Eagle Scout together. I left for a short period of time to go to college. I came back, was appointed in 2001 as a police officer in Hopkinton. Spent nearly 24 years as a police officer. Most recently, became a football coach. To those two little guys in Hopkinton, so Hopkinton Youth Football. And, you know, I've seen the town grow. I've seen, you know, certain things across town. I've made mistakes in my career, in my life, in my family. Like I tell my boys, own it. Learn from it, move forward, grow from what you learn. I try and tell our other officers, you know, I've gotten myself into trouble. I've admitted my mistakes. I've fought for things that I thought were right. I fought things that I was accused of that I didn't do. And, you know, you got to be true to yourself. And I think that any time that you go through an adversity like that, you get stronger. And, you know, I think the most important thing is to understand that we're all human. Everybody in this room has made mistakes. We've all learned from them. It's not a mistake if it happens twice. So, you know, I believe in that. I believe in, you know, as long as you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, at the end of the day, you'll be okay. And I think in this line of work, we see people at their worst moments when they've made mistakes in their life, and having that compassion and that understanding that, you know, they can get through it. It's not the end of the world. There is a way to get through these things.
Thank you. I know, I appreciate that a lot. I know I make mistakes. I continue to make them in my career. I think it's a sign of a good leader to admit those things and learn from them, as you said, so thank you. And then one last quick question. We talked with the 3 new officers, you know, bringing the department up to full staff. What's, you know, as one of the leaders, what's your view and your goals for kind of the department moving forward now that you're at capacity?
So certainly, as we've said many times, we're at a point where we've never been before. We've never had this many officers, and I think that really the next role for us is to build the leadership, to build the future of the agency. I really believe in building a legacy so that, God forbid, anything were to happen to me walking out the door, that tomorrow the place is going to run perfectly fine, that people are capable, they know what they're doing, they know where to find the answers. They may not have all the experience in the world, but they do. They understand what needs to be done each day. And I can say without a doubt, I have full confidence in the officers we've hired. There's a lot to learn. They've got some great mentors. We do have a long road to bring them up to speed, but their heads are in the right place, their heart's in the right place, and it's just a matter of time and exposure to things like the marathon, like, you know, different events that we have across town that are unique to Hopkinton, and that, you know, that I grew up with, that, you know, Pat O'Brien, Tom Griffin, Mike Hamilton, all these guys, they taught all of us, and it's our job now to pass it down and recognize that we are the old guys. It took a lot to get to that point, I think, Matt McNeil, Aaron, Greg, we all sat around the table, and when we got hired, those guys, we said, oh, those are the old guys. And the key is we worked with them for 15 plus years. And now we're like, wait a minute. We are now in that position with these new officers coming in. But it's important for us to build that foundation so they feel safe and secure, working in town and doing their job daily.
Awesome. Thank you, Lieutenant.
All set?
Good.
Mr. Manon.
Thank you, Mr. Van der Alten, for all your service. And I know it takes a lot to come here in the seat that you are in, being a candidate. It doesn't happen overnight or in one day. It takes decades of service, dedication, learning, and growing. So congratulations for coming to this point. And I certainly look forward to your successful leadership and the chief's successful leadership with our wonderful force. The question I have is kind of a little bit of what you said, but focusing on, as the second in command or future second in command, can you tell us about your vision for our police workforce? And then second, what are the 2 or 3 key items or areas you'd focus on in the coming years during our transformation journey?
So like I alluded to, I think our next step is to build our leadership, to backfill our positions as quickly as possible, to get these people up to speed. One thing that I think is incredibly important for especially the younger officers to see is that there's a path for them, right? There's a path to leadership. There's growth within the agency. Like I alluded earlier, I'm not going to be around forever. I got quite a few years left in me, but not as many as them. And I think that building up our leadership, showing the different roles, exposure to the different things that we do. I think one of the missteps we've taken in the past is everything was a silo. One individual handled one thing, one individual handled another thing. The chief has done a great job of basically spreading it out and including everyone into the mix. Maybe you're not the frontline person, but at least you have exposure to it, and you know where to find something if you need it. And I think that is just growth of the department, right? And as we grow into a size that we've never seen before, we're going to have hurdles and hiccups and things that we haven't encountered before, but I full confidence in the staff and in the sergeants, the future lieutenants, that we'll get through that with no problem.
Thank you. And I just wanted to ask one clarification question on the process as well, and then I have another follow-up question, quick one. So, Chief, I know the answer, but would you be able to share, during the earlier lieutenant recruitment process, we did go through all the background and files and whatnot, we meaning the select board leadership at that time. I know I have, and I know my colleagues do, and we did go through much more detail and in much more depth before we became confident on the appointment. Can you confirm that, just so everyone knows?
Yeah, through the chair, yes. You were welcomed into the station and had access to Chief Moore, and he had reviewed and summarized all the files of our employees, and he met with each of you individually and responded to any questions.
Thank you.
Was Chief Moore the Natick Police Chief that was helping?
Natick Police Chief helped with the hiring process. Chief John Moore helped the department with special projects, including this.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry. One last one is, I know Mr. Van der Alten and with the police chief's leadership had done tremendous work in community engagement over the last few years, at least when I have been more engaged with this. So I wanted to understand, Mr. Van der Alten, if you can share your view on community policing and how you would continue on the community engagement in our town.
So I think we do a great job with engaging the community, from seniors to children, and we just had a senior dinner. I think we try and hit a lot of the segments of the population, and we're always looking for new opportunities and avenues to get in. One of our newer officers is now a basketball coach the schools. So I mean, it's those little things and those little connections. A few years ago, I noticed that there was a lack of connection with our business community, and so I created like a liaison with the Chamber of Commerce to get engagement with our business community and our stakeholders in town to assist them in whatever the police department could do for them. And I think with our new officers, we've got a bunch of new ideas. They've got a bunch of different contacts. Two of our officers are just like Mr. Clark. They're born and raised in town. You know, when they walk the schools with the SRO, they can tell the SRO, like, these are the hiding spots. So I think, you know, it really is, you know, that type of a diverse department that we've built allows us to create new avenues and new opportunities and keep it fresh.
Thank you. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you.
While this is printed information, I think it's important that we highlight some of these things as we do these public interview processes. Can you describe your formal education to us, please?
Sure. So I got my undergrad at Northeastern University, spent 5 years, did a number of different co-ops in the federal government, state, and local. Upon graduating Northeastern, I went to Western New England for my master's degree in criminal justice administration. As I was finishing my master's degree, I was hired by Hopkinton. Around 2005, I had the bright idea that I would go to law school because I had nothing going on in my life. So I decided to enroll in law school. While in law school, I met my wife, got married. Life got a little bit more complicated. Ended up working the Neil Entwistle case in the middle of law school. Ultimately graduated in 3 years, took the Mass Bar, passed the Mass Bar. I've been a licensed attorney in Massachusetts since 2008.
Are there any conflicts, and I don't think this is a negative thing, I'm just curious because we all worry about conflicts of interest and making sure we follow the path correctly. Are there any conflicts between being a practicing attorney, maybe not a practicing, but a licensed attorney, and a police officer in Massachusetts?
Only if I practice in the county. So if I were to be a defense attorney, which some police officers are, although there's no explicit rule against it, it's best practice not to practice in Middlesex County.
Okay.
But I don't do any defense work.
Okay. Is it your intention, if you are chosen as the deputy police chief, to do it full time and kind of focus on that and not defense law somewhere else?
I have no interest in being I tried a couple different avenues in the law between real estate, bankruptcies, tried some civil stuff, and it's boring. I have just no. I simply went to law school because I had a love for the law. I wanted to learn more about it, and ultimately, as dark as it sounds, it was my backup plan that, God forbid, if I ever got injured and I couldn't perform this job, I'd always have a job that I could perform.
Got it. Okay. You're a well-educated person. You mentioned earlier, Mr. Clark asked a question. I thought it was a good question, a reasonable question, and I thought you had a very strong answer specific to mistakes made. You know, read any book on Leadership 101, any book. Acknowledge when you make a mistake. Okay? It's not the end of the world if you make a mistake. If you make it twice, then we have to talk, right? Any field. Kids, whatever, playing football, you offsides 2 plays in a row, you're going to have a problem with the coach, right? So mistakes are all about learnings if treated properly. So, and I do think it is a sign of a very strong leader that you can openly admit your mistakes. Do you have any regrets with some of the mistakes you've made in your career or in your life? I mean, I have some regrets as a person on this board, as a person in the construction industry, whatever. We all make mistakes, and some of those I regret. But I don't know how you feel about some of those things. And do you have regrets? Does it gnaw at you, or did you learn and move on? Like, you know.
I think some things linger with you. I've always been able to move on from it, talk about it, get it off my chest. I mean, we see the worst in people. We go to the worst scenes, things that nobody wants to see, and we've been trained to talk about it and bring it out. Fortunately, I have a very supportive family. Although I don't talk to them about everything, I could. And I think that some of the mistakes I have made, it was more about explaining why it happened what occurred, and if punishment is due, then punishment is due. And I just, took it and moved on. And, ultimately, that's where I am today, is that, you take your licks, you move on, and, things will follow from there. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. My philosophy has always been live, learn, and move on, right? If we get stuck,
can't dwell on it.
We get stuck. It's hard to lead if you're stuck, right? And it's hard to lead if you can't acknowledge when you've made a mistake. It's hard to lead if you can't learn. But if you can do those things and you can move on, you become stronger and stronger and stronger. So it doesn't excuse what we've all done in our lives. It doesn't excuse what I've done in my life. But as long as you learn from it, it's all for the better. So with that, a couple of administrative questions that I typically would ask. So, Chief, we fill the position of deputy chief, right? Then the lieutenant position becomes open, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do we have one lieutenant position or two lieutenant positions?
So currently, within the structure of the budget, there is one lieutenant position.
And that's through FY25?
Yes.
What are you proposing for FY26?
Right now, because of, the proposal is one lieutenant. I've touched base a little bit with you guys, with you folks on this, and spent a lot of time internally with my command staff and kind of plotted out the trajectory of the department. And I feel that the department needs two lieutenants. We need someone to oversee administrative roles, and we need someone to oversee operational roles. And that's where I feel, now that we've built the department out, we need to seriously be looking.
And are you thinking about that for 26 or 27?
I could do it today, sir.
You don't have the budget for it today.
I could cover the money today.
Oh, man. Here we go.
I got two great candidates for you.
Okay.
I have the money because, obviously, there are openings for this year. And as we spoke before, the increase is nominal from sergeant to lieutenant. And we spoke to this. It's like $10,000 to get someone, to ask someone to leave the union for $10,000 to take a lieutenant's position. So it is very doable. I'm very good with an Excel spreadsheet, and I'll ask.
We got to balance the budget. Anyway, back to the, quote, interview. Scott, your thoughts on filling the position, and your thought, not with candidates per se, but one, do you feel we should fill the lieutenant position? And then two, do you feel like the chief's role or recommendation, and you guys can have a healthy debate right here in front of us, it'll be fun to watch. Do you feel that two positions for FY26 make sense for lieutenant?
100%. Given the size of the agency, span of control amongst the leadership and the sergeants, how we have built out different roles, it wouldn't be for a lack of work between the two of them. There's plenty to go around. We have accreditation, we have post standards, we have training, we have professional development. I mean, there's all types of things that are tasked with sergeants right now that really are not sergeant roles. And by bringing in a second lieutenant, we'll free up our sergeants to allow them to be sergeants, to be on the road and assist in the supervision of our newer officers and train them and be with them and be supporting roles with them on the street rather than being in the station having to do administrative duties that really are above where they need to be.
Last question on money, I promise. Chief, when we did budget projections for 26, 27, 28, as you work with appropriations, were you thinking two lieutenants at that time? Is there some forward projection money there, do you think? Or budgeting anyway?
So backing up to projections, this was whiteboarded years ago, the build out of the department. I did it when I became chief. But as far as the projections, one of the things that we have to recognize is that a vast majority of our department is moving through incremental steps up the payroll ladder. So that step is roughly 5%. So coming in at 2.5 will be difficult. And I want to just state that up front. And I think most union departments would state the same. You have someone that comes in and says step 2, and they're going to work their way till step 5. It's 5% each year, plus whatever contractually awarded increase from the collective bargaining agreement. But I think it will plateau, And I think specifically speaking to the second lieutenant position, it really will plateau to whatever you award the administrative. That percentage of increase will flatten out to once they get their initial letter of agreement. It will be the 2-3% that we get. So they won't move through a 5-7% incremental increase as the union members are.
Okay, thanks for indulging me on that financial stuff. Okay, any other questions, thoughts, comments? Amy, anything else?
I don't think so, no.
Joe?
I just had one comment. You know, Brian alluded to earlier, you know, when we paused this process a couple months ago, back when we joined the board, I specifically, you know, had some words about that. And I want to be clear around, like, the intent with that. It was, you know, there was a lot of focus on the police department, and I've talked with the chief about this, and it was around making an informed decision. Since that night, we've all spent a lot of time together. I've got to witness the department, and I've really enjoyed seeing how the department's growing, how the guys are working, the men and women are working together, how they're following both Chief and Lieutenant Van Ralton's lead. I think it's a real testament. I mean, you can't really see on video, but for all the police officers in the room this evening, both present, former, I love seeing that. It really shows the support that, and you know, really what needs to be done here with this promotion tonight. So I just wanted to, you know, mention that and, you know, share how excited I am about this promotion tonight. So,
the chair, if I may, please add to that. So, you know, it was definitely a chilling effect that night. But I want to, and I spoke to as many people that have reached out and said, don't panic. And within 24 hours, you and I were meeting, and you came to the department and you spoke to them. And I respect your request to pause and take a look at it. And it's been very healthy for the organization to see you around, to see you come into our events and see the board supporting us continually. So I just want to, through the chair, thank you.
I'm good. Mr. Brennan, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Excited and look forward.
From the town manager's perspective, any thoughts on the process? Any thoughts on the discussion tonight? Anything you want to share? Do you have any questions? I mean, you're a non-voting member of this board in my mind, so.
No questions, but it was my first time participating in such an exhaustive process as this, and I was really impressed with the depth and the breadth of the process and what all the candidates went through to really showcase their talents and their abilities to serve the town. So I was very impressed with the process.
Okay. And you feel good where we're landing?
Yes.
I'm sensing. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I have no further questions or comments. I don't think any of the members of the board do. If anybody's inclined to do something else, please do so.
I can move the motion if you.
Please.
I move to appoint Scott Van Ralton as Deputy Police Chief for the town of Hopkinton.
Second.
We have a motion on the table and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is unanimous, and so carries a 4-0 vote. Congratulations, Deputy Chief.
Through the chair.
Do we have a pin here this evening? Yeah.
Would you entertain?
Absolutely. That'd be great.
His wife Sharon?
Please, and the boys, come on up. I want to know what position these guys play. What do you guys play? Yeah, which position do you play?
Offense and O-line, D-line. O-line, D-line.
O-line, D-line, QB. Got the whole smash there. Great. If there are family members that would like to join in the picture, please come forward. If there are colleagues that would like to join in the picture, please come forward. We'll get just a family pic, too. Sure. Yeah, I'm going to get out of this pic, though.
Oh, you're not?
This is just the family.
That's good.
going to do a pinning.
Sheriff, I'd like to give you this to pin Deputy Chief Scott Daniel.
Now we're going to do a pick with all the colleagues, all the retirees, everybody wants in the pick. Please join us up front. Pat O'Brien, Tom Griffin.
Chuck Wallace.
Who else?
Chuck Wallace.
Come on up.
Oh, you went?
Scott, give me a sec. I'm going to go up there and get one heading down. Give me a sec.
Yeah, we'll be in the back here. That's fine. We'll stand in between the little crevices. I'll stand next to these football guys. Joe.
Good fan base. You got a good fan base.
Oh, I hope so.
The mics are hot. The mics are hot.
Select board member. It's a big one. Just over here, over there. You'll never see my face in the back.
Oh, Pete, come on, man.
But I'm not here.
Get on your shoulder. I think we're ready.
Need a few more people back here. I'm not going to get anybody over here.
That's good.
Step back. Phil.
So Chuck Wallace. Tom. Chuck, back here.
Come on, Chuck. Come back.
Not me.
The old one's in the back. Sorry you married Joe. Let's get Pat O'Brien to sit in one of the chairs, see how it feels.
All right.
Now look up, everybody.
Are we looking at John? Who's going over? You're looking at my twin brother over there.
And he has one.
Oh, be quiet. One more.
One more. Gotcha. All right. All right, Chris. All right. Good luck.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Really big night.
Chief, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Good night.
Joe, thanks for coming.
See you, boys.
Oh, 1 second. Well, I have the whole HPD here, or just about. I just want to thank you all for your professionalism this weekend. I needed it, and you did a great job. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Mary Jo. That means a lot. Thank you. It wasn't easy for you.
almost ready to move on.
See you, Aaron.
Oh, that was Aaron. I thought it was Matt.
Good, how are you?
They're both.
Good to see you.
Yeah, that's Matt.
It's Aaron.
Okay. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Hey, Mike.
Okay, I think we're going to be able to move on now. Item number 8 on the agenda is the annual license renewals. The Select Board will consider renewing annual licenses for the following businesses. I'm just going to read the abbreviated version here if I can.
We have to do these motions for each one.
The motions are done individually.
A motion.
I think we have to do them each time, but let me just read it out, and then we can do the motions. We're almost done. Bob's going to get the last few stragglers out of the room so we can hear what's going on here. Okay, so Section 12, restaurant, all alcohol and associated licenses. The 110 Grill, Carboni's Restaurant, Cornell's Irish Pub, Hopkinton Country Club, Co Restaurant, Pantai, Beaumain Pizza Bar, Central Public House, Zio's Quattro, Oral Mexican Restaurant, and the Hopkinton Center for the Arts. And then we can come back to any questions or concerns anybody has, okay? The second one is Section 12, Club, all alcohol and associated licenses, Woodville Rod and Gun Club. The third is Section 12, Restaurant, Wine and Malt and associated licenses, The Spoon. Section 19C is Farmer Brewing Pouring Permit, that's Startline Brewing Company. Section 15, Package All Store, All Alcohol, Hopkinton Wine and Spirits, Marty's Fine Wines, The Vin Bin, and Country Farm Liquor. Section 15, Store and Wine and Malt, Global Montello Group, which is All Town Fresh. Common Vicular License Renewal, The Spoonery, Dunkin' Donuts, Muffin House Cafe, Air Market, Dell, 176 South Street and 228 South Street, Blue Square Pizza, South Street Donuts, Starbucks at Price Chopper, Starbucks Coffee at 85 West Main Street, and Domino's Pizza. Class 1 and Class 2 license renewals, Bulldog Fire Apparatus, Inc., Whitehall Auto Sales, Inc., WSAB Enterprise, Main Street Service Center, Livery and Limousine Service, Able Limousine, Inc. And lastly, Municipal Street License, Metro West Regional Transit Authority. Okay. On all these various license renewals, the town staff is comfortable moving forward with these renewals. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Have we had any reported public safety issues with any of these entities?
We have not.
We have not. I've not heard of any, so that's all good. Okay. Does anybody want to break any of these out before we get into the motions process, which is individual, but does anybody have any questions, concerns about anything that's been read to date or thus far?
Just no question, but just for my understanding, what's the Metro West Regional Transit Authority has to do with the food license?
It's a
Street license.
street license to allow that business to operate on the roads of Hopkins.
On the roads? Okay.
It's a nonprofit entity, but yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right?
Correct.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
Ms. LaFreniere, any questions, concerns?
No.
Mr. Clark?
I'm good.
Mrs. Ritterbush?
I just want to note that a lot of them do have contingencies, so that will just be part of the motion, right? That they need an inspection done or something.
That those contingencies be satisfied.
Okay.
Okay, so we have some motions here on the sheet that do say with contingencies, right? And Elaine, you're going to regulate those contingencies?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're all good with general comments, concerns, questions? Okay, with that, the chair will entertain a motion for, well, we just kind of go in order here. Everybody gets a little break. Mr. Manon, you want to do number 1, please?
I move to renew annual licenses for the businesses with Section 12 on premises, all alcohol beverage licenses with associated licenses as noted in the summary document in the packet. Group 1 as pasted below with contingencies, if any, which I don't think, right?
He read it all off.
Oh, as read by Mr. Chair.
But there were no contingencies in that first grouping.
Yeah, I didn't
There
see
were
any.
some inspections that still have not occurred.
Oh, okay.
They will.
Do we have to list those names?
Oh, wait a minute.
In the packet, it indicated what those were.
Oh, I see. So the contingencies would be on the next page.
Do we need to read the contingencies or just? No.
Let's pause for a sec, please. Let's just pause for a sec. So we have a motion in front, we got a bunch of motions we got to do. And then we have the contingencies, which would be on the pages following. How do we work all this into the motion?
So all you have to do is list the names of the businesses, and with any contingencies noted, you don't have to describe what those are. They're all in the packet listed.
So any motion that we make, we should add the term with any contingencies.
Yeah, there are a few without contingencies, but this group has some.
Guys, what's the proper wording with any what?
That's right. With any contingencies that are noted
With any contingencies so noted. Is that written here somewhere?
in the motion itself.
Can I say with contingencies as mentioned in the agenda packet?
Correct.
Okay, that'll make it easier.
Okay, so we have a motion for the first grouping with contingencies as mentioned in the motion packet.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? And you're going to manage the contingencies, correct? Your office, not you, but your office, okay? Everybody good?
Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Number 2.
I move to renew the Section 12 on-premises all alcohol beverages club license, common victualier license, and entertainment license for the Woodville Rod and Gun Club.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yep.
This has no contingencies.
Correct.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous and so carries. Number 3.
I move to renew the Section 12 on-premises wine and malt beverages license, common victualier license, and entertainment license for the Hopkinton Spoon.
Second.
Any further discussion? No contingencies. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous and so carries.
I move to renew the Section 19C Farmer Brewery pouring permit license, common victualier license, and entertainment license for Startline Brewing.
Second.
Motion and a second, no contingencies. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous and so carries.
I move to renew the Section 15 all alcohol package store licenses with associated licenses, if any, for the businesses as mentioned in the agenda packet.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I might want to list those businesses.
Okay, we want to list those businesses, so that would be...
That'll be numbered.
I can list those if.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elaine's going to list those for us. That'd be great.
Wine and Spirits, Marty's Fine Wines, the Vin Bin, and Country Farm.
Okay, so those businesses are in your motion. You good with that?
Yes.
And the second is good with that?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table and a second that listed the businesses. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries.
I move to renew the Section 15 wine and malt package store license for All Town Fresh with the contingencies noted.
Second.
Any further discussion? There are contingencies the town manager will manage. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries.
I move to renew the common victualier and associated licenses, if any, for the following businesses with contingencies as noted. Hopkinton Spoon, Inc., Hopkinton Donuts, LLC, Muffin House Cafe, 35 Main Street, Aramark at Dell, Sproul Ventures, LLC, South Street Donuts, Price Chopper Operating Company, Starbucks Corporation, Hopkinton Pie, Inc. I think that's it.
Okay, we have a motion and there's a second, I believe.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and that motion, I believe, is in order. Ms. Lazarus, correct? Okay. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries.
I move to renew the Class 1 and Class 2 licenses with the contingencies noted. Item 8. Bulldog Fire Apparatus, Inc., Thomas White, DBA, Whitehall Auto Sales, Donald Crawford, DBA, Wasab Enterprise, John Incardone, DBA Main Street Service Center.
Second.
Any discussion? That seems to be in order to me, right, Elaine? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries.
I move to renew the livery license for Able Limousine with contingencies noted.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mrs. Ritterbusch. No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries.
I move to renew the municipal street license to the Metro West Regional Transit Authority.
Second.
A motion and a second by Mrs. Ritterbusch. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Okay. So that takes us through, we got to Able, no, we got to.
So we're on to number 9 now. I think that finishes it.
Yeah, that finishes it up, right, Elaine? Yeah, we got the Metro East and that last one there. Okay, good. All right, everybody good with item number 8?
Yes.
Okay, let's move ahead to item number 9, electronic waste recycling. Ms. Lazarus.
So the board has received a request from Carrie Reed, Public Works Director, to discontinue the collection of electronic waste at the drop-off recycling center. The reasons listed in her memo, and she may be on Zoom.
Oh, she's right here.
She's right there. Come on up and join us, Carrie, please. Thank you for coming in. Electronic recycling.
Yes. All right. So, Carrie Reed, Director of Public Works, here to talk about electronic recycling. And the reason I'm here before the Select Board is because the town charter specifically says that the Select Board has the exclusive authority to establish rates, fees, and other charges for services, programs, and other public benefits administered to the Department of Public Works. So electronic waste recycling, otherwise known as e-waste, which is like computers, monitors, small electronics, things like that, is offered at the drop-off center for residents at the recycling center at E.L. Harvey on Saturdays. It's the only service that is offered at the recycling center that we charge a fee for. Everything else that you come in there, so if you're bringing in cardboard, scrap metal, fluorescent light bulbs, yard waste for composting, all of that is offered to the residents free of charge because it's part of our operating budget. This is the only one that there's a fee charged for. This program was developed, it seems like in the early 2000s by the Hopkinen Recycling Committee, which was the predecessor of the Hopkinen Sustainable Green Committee. And it was set up to try to be a revolving fund, so the fees were supposed to offset the costs. As you can imagine, the fees have not been changed since they were originally established. The costs continue to go up, so it's no longer self-sustaining. So we're paying more to dispose of this waste than we are generating from fees, and there's some operational challenges with having this program at the off-site recycling center on the weekends. So I'm proposing some different recommendations. One of them is to eliminate the program, the electronic waste recycling program altogether, because there are a lot of sustainable alternatives that are available to our residents that are as convenient at the similar cost or less cost. Most retail, like box stores, provide the service free of charge. Like if you buy a new flat screen TV, they'll take your old one and recycle it. There's a lot of nonprofits that will take electronics and refurbish them and give them to veterans or shelters or other organizations. There's several organizations in town like the Scouts, I think St. John's, who have done electronic recycling as a fundraiser. Electronic recycling was also offered at the farmers market this summer as a free program through one of the vendors that was there. The Hopkinen Sustainable Green Committee offers electronic recycling at their recycling event once a year, which is usually around Earth Day. So there's a lot of other options for our residents that I think are more sustainable and would provide that same level of service. The other option is we can increase the rates so that the fees match, would generate enough revenue to pay for the program. So some of that information is in there. Again, the Select Board would be able to establish those rates, but we would increase the rates and make it a true revolving fund so that the fees match the cost. And then the other option is that we can say that this is an important service that we want to continue to offer to our residents, and that we say it's important enough that we build it into the general budget, no longer charge a fee. and then just offer that as a service and build it into our operational budget. And quite honestly, that probably would have been my preference if it wasn't for the budgeting messaging that is coming out. So I wasn't going to propose to eliminate a revenue fee, but those are the options that are before you right now. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Great, thank you. Elaine, your thoughts on this? This, in my opinion, falls into trees, trash, and trails conversation in Hopkinton. Those are three, hot button items. Recycling is part of the trash service, not this type of recycling per se, but I think there could be some passion around this if we don't manage it properly. Your thoughts on, of the options discussed, what do you think might make the most sense?
So I was interested to learn through this that there are these other options out there, and they're year-round, and they're regularly recurring, and so it's great that there are other options for people that they may not be aware of. So I think if it is discontinued, that some messaging go out to let people know what those other options are. And I know that collection at the drop-off center is difficult. It's a Saturday. It requires someone to be there also to manage this. And I think there have been problems with the items that have been dropped off as well. So I think it would be administratively easier for the town not to have this at the drop-off center. But I think if we stop that, we do have to message to people that there are the other options out there available. And if, a year goes by and we find that that's not sufficient, we can always pick it up again.
So if we were to pull the plug, we could resume, and E.L. Harvey would allow us to resume at some point down the road?
Yes, they would. I mean, they supply a dumpster and they charge us a fee by weight for the dumpster, so they would continue to do that. So they can offer that. They offer right now curbside service. So if you have a giant flat screen TV that was broken and you wanted to get rid of it, you didn't want to schlep it down to the drop-off center, you call E.L. Harvey, they would come pick it up at a fee for curbside service.
That would continue.
That will continue as it always has. I mean, that's an individual fee, just like any other band waste. Like if you had a mattress you want to get rid of, E.L. Harvey would pick it up for any of our residents, but it's an additional fee. And then the resident would pay E.L. Harvey directly, so it wouldn't be the town collecting that fee, because they're providing an additional service to those residents. But they could do that right now. Like right now, if you didn't want to take your giant flat screen TV down there and you want them to pick it up, you call them and they pick it up and charge you a fee.
And that would continue?
That would continue.
Got it. Mr. Manon.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry, for walking through that. I have some clarifying questions and then some comments. So the question I have is that what is the driver for this? To save money or the time in your department? How do you articulate that?
The driver for this was, for me personally, twofold. So coming in as a director, when we were having a lot of issues at the recycling drop-off center, and one was illegal dumping, and a lot of it was in the dumpster that was electronic waste. People were disposing of air conditioners, refrigerators, cathode ray TVs, which are all banned waste, and we were ending up paying additional funding for that. So we were looking at ways to try to reduce illegal dumping. So this was kind of something that seemed like a viable option. The other thing is that the fees that were collected were cash collections, and we are having a lot of turnover in staff. We didn't have a full-time person that was down there, so it felt really uncomfortable having folks try to collect cash on a Saturday morning, and the fees were not really clear to turn it in like on Monday. And just so at a certain point when we had backup folks from DPW that were filling in because the person wasn't there, we didn't feel comfortable collecting the fees, and then it was getting confusing to residents of, do you charge a fee, don't you charge a fee? So there was a lot of operational challenges, and so we started looking at the full program and then realizing that we were paying more than we were getting in from the fees, and how much of an administrative burden was it really worth anymore.
Thank you. So we can look at the budget, and my question would be, the pros and cons and how much actually we are saving, which I think is probably not a lot in a $123 million budget. The reason I ask that is I fully appreciate the work that you do and your staff do. But at a time when we are raising the taxes, I'm not very comfortable cutting down a service that helps and I have several other comments, cutting down something that helps the environmental, protection in some ways, because now it's channeled there, and we can, make the operations a little more efficient, a little more, I think, compliant to avoid some of the operational challenges that you have. That's a different discussion. How can we, help you manage that better? But I don't think, we should cut down the service that is as significant as this one, even though it's a small one, apparently. But I personally have tons of electronics, and often, every other year I have to dump a whole bunch. I probably still have a whole room full of electronics that I want to dump. But I'm sure everyone has that in this era where we are constantly changing our devices and all that. So I would appreciate if there is a way we can help you maintain this, manage the operations a little better with the cash and other stuff. These are all, in my view, challenges, but manageable challenges. So that's why I felt a little uncomfortable that we want to cut down a service. My 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Where's the front area?
I have a hard time with this one. I understand why you want to discontinue it, and I understand about the illegal dumping and all of that, because I know it happens. I know it happens where I live. I know things are in the dumpster that shouldn't be, and that Harvey should be called. There are things, somebody has a mattress, they get called. So I'm not necessarily against it, but I think we really have to decide on a way to inform the public where they can do this. Like you said, they have an event at the farmer's market, or so if you have that, we have to have a list of places that will take it for recycling, take the recycling, so that people can get rid of their stuff without too much trouble. And yet the town shouldn't have that burden, because it's a lot of trash. It's a lot of trouble.
Okay. Joe.
One clarifying question. You mentioned before, like the dumpster provided for this is provided by Harvey's, and then are they charging us based off of weight for that, or is it based off this schedule? Because you have the little schedule in your memo that has like a per item fee. It's like $50 or whatever per, which one is it?
Correct. We charge a fee based on per item. They charge us by weight.
Okay.
And that's why it doesn't even out. If they come to your house and do curbside, then they charge by unit. I think that's in there too. So they charge a fee to go pick up, and then for every unit of waste you have together,
Gotcha.
There's a little short discount. But that's how they charge us. If there is a banned waste in that same dumpster, which is the problem we were having, if people come in on the weekend to the drop-off center and throw in, the disposable kids' toys, air conditioners, and then Yellow Harvey has to go and separate them all, then they charge us additional for that, and they charge us an additional fee for any of those banned waste.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Did we get an opinion from the Sustainable Green Committee on this?
I've talked a little bit with Sustainable Green Committee. Of course, they would prefer to us to offer everything. They want us to offer curbside composting. They want to offer all recycling streams. They are committed to continuing to offer their annual electronic recycling program. They prefer for us to keep this. I think they prefer for us as a town to keep it and offer it at no fee, because they're trying to encourage more people to recycle. So that's it, but they recognize the challenges, and they're also concerned about illegal dumping, because a lot of that is, waste that we're trying to keep out of the cycle, waste stream. And, well, I can't speak for them because they're not here, but, there are other vendors that provide a more sustainable recycling process than E.L. Harvey does for some of these wastes, particularly like electronic waste. So I think there are other vendors that they would also support.
Yeah, and that was kind of where, that's a big committee that does a lot in town, so I'd love to know, because I like your alternative options, but if we could dig deeper into that with them, because if it comes down to, hey, like this more sustainable option, this other vendor is going to provide us, half the weight cost, that we're spending today, maybe that kind of offsets it. Because I think my big concern is, I've seen it, I've driven down a street on trash day and seen a TV sticking out of someone's trash can, right? And I think if we take away a weekly service and an opportunity for people to do that, that's a concern for me. They just start dumping things. So I'd like to just, see a little bit more alternatives.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, I have been there and seen that there won't be an attendant, but there's this big bin for e-waste, and people just throw things in without paying anything, and they don't know for sure what can go in or can't because there's not a person there to tell them. So it really is a problem. And so I think maybe we need to think about it a little bit. Like, I don't know if we need to charge more so that people understand really how much it costs to recycle these things that they buy, and that they need to be more careful. And I think if we could offer some kind of quarterly alternative, I know we've had the Sustainable Green Committee, I think it's been doing it once a year, but if there were a quarterly option, you could wait till that month and get rid of it. Maybe it's not always the Sustainable Green Committee that does it, but other charities have done it too, as a fundraiser. 'Cause I'm really worried about the mattress illegal dumping too. I had to get rid of a mattress this year, and I think it was $100, and I was really floored because you can get rid of a chair they'll pick that up with your trash for free. And so not everybody can afford $100. They just have to get rid of an old mattress, so they're just going to dump it probably somewhere. So we do need an alternative that people can find, I think. So maybe we can think about it and find a solution, because I don't like people dumping like dangerous things just for free when they don't know better, and I think it could be improved. But
Trees, trash, and trails, right? Three things that always stir it up. And I'm kind of with my colleagues here. While I want to support, finding the most efficient way to do this for the town and for the residents, I do struggle with losing that service because I think some would rely on it. I didn't know that you could do that curbside. I think that's great. But, if you've got small little electronics, you wouldn't put them out the curbside. I don't know if they'd pick those up, or they might just, I don't know what would happen there. I spent some time in Dennis, Mass, and they have this fabulous transfer station down there, and they charge an arm and a leg for residents to come by and drop certain things. And there's a line every Saturday and Sunday for people to pay good money to drop stuff. Right? I know it's the Cape and it's different kinds of things maybe getting thrown out, but they do have a big electronics area back there because our TV gets destroyed by the salt air. And I've done it a couple of times, but I think it's like $25 to get rid of a TV, like this big. So I'm open to trying to figure something out here, but I think we should give this a little time and we should socialize it more and we should get some feedback. Because I can pretty much guarantee you that trees, trash, and trails will come back to haunt us if we just make a decision without it being socialized in the community. So I think, for the record, the Select Board has been asked to consider disbanding the electronic recycling service at E.L. Harvey's on Saturdays. If we do that, residents will have to figure out another way. There's lots of other ways to do it. But residents will have to become aware and understand what those are, and let's talk about what those options are. But I just want everybody in the community to know, not that a lot of people are watching at the moment, but if we could get an article on this in a local outlet saying that this is under consideration, I think we're going to get some feedback. And, we want to follow the general will of the community, and I'm not sure what the general will in the community would be on this topic right now, so I'm a little reluctant to move today on that, at least from my vantage point, and maybe we could continue to discuss this and try and get a little bit of buzz around town about this concept.
Through the chair, I like the idea of getting feedback. I think that's a good idea. And since you are helping us finding some more information, can you also show us the budgetary facts and kind of numbers? In other words, how much we are charging and how much we are paying, because one of the things that caught my ear, of course we want to balance the budget, is that we are paying a lot more. So if you can help understand that disparity, and let's see if we can accommodate it or whatever it looks like, I think that would be another data point.
yeah, I think it's in the packet, Shaidul. The exact amount we're paying extra.
Sorry?
I think it's in the packet, the exact amount we're paying over.
What is it?
So she has it broken down by year, but I guess on average.
I didn't see.
So like this year was 4,000.
So we are paying 4,000 from the town's pocket in addition, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that's a good data point. I mean, again, for something that gives such convenience, 4,000, a drop in the bucket, but that's my opinion. And we can check the feedback and check into other considerations. Again, I don't want to just repeat, but I think the Sustainable Green Committee and some of the other folks, as you mentioned, rightfully would be in favor of promoting more environment-friendly process for recycling. And this is one option that'll be taken out. That's my concern. But thank you. Thank you, Amy. Can I see that?
I don't know how I feel the same way about it. I really want to see what the options are for recycling these things.
Okay. All right, are we okay, is the board okay with tabling this for now? We'll have it again in the near future. I think we want to socialize it some more, and if we're going to stir the hornet's nest, let's do it before we take a vote, and then we'll kind of figure out where the general will is, okay?
Just want to add, I really appreciated seeing all the alternatives listed here, and then we could publicize those more. Like, I did know that Best Buy would take your TV, and I've done that twice. And even if I didn't buy my new TV there, they took the old TV. And then, anyway, so there are other free alternatives for people.
So we'll keep this on our list of things to do and try and get some coverage on the idea and go from there. Okay, so with that, we'll close out item number 9, and we'll move to item number 10, which, Carrie, you may be part of that discussion too, I'm not sure. And that is the Water and Sewer Advisory Board options and MWRA connection. Ms. Lazarus.
So kind of combined a couple of future board agenda items here. The first one being, until recently, we didn't have enough applicants for the Water and Sewer Advisory Board. Now we have 3 applicants for a 5-member board. So that's a new thing for the board to consider.
That's progress.
Yes. Yes, it's very good. And so this agenda item was put on here so that you could talk about your alternatives, whether you wanted to go ahead with the board or do something different. Now you have some other options as well. And then discussing it in the context of the MWRA, which it seems to be linked in the discussion of the whole water issue. So they're both here on the agenda for you.
Okay. I have been a little bit surprised at the speed at which the applications have come in, meaning there was 0 speed for quite some time, at least a month or 2. But now it does seem like we're picking up some momentum, and looking at the resumes that were at least posted through the application, there's some well-intended, well-respected, experienced people showing an interest now in this role. So, I mean, my thinking is I still would love to see this advisory board get put in place, and I think if we stay the course, we'll be able to fill it out here very soon. I mean, we could do 3 of the 5 now and get the board up and running, frankly, because that's a quorum, and that's a odd number, if I can say that.
But they would have to have all 3 present to have a meeting.
Yeah, they'd have to follow all the rules, but they could cover the rules with 3, and then we could populate it further. Or we could say, okay, we've got 3 now that look great. Let's see if we can't get a couple more, and then we could do the appointments and maybe the next meeting. There's a couple folks I'm surprised that we haven't heard from, but I know there's others that are still thinking about it. So that's my 2 cents. Mrs. Ridbush, your thoughts?
I really have mixed feelings on this because I have really been upset that we have paused our negotiations with Southborough and paused moving forward on the permanent clean water solution since June. So I want to do whatever is going to get us moving forward quickly. And that's why I didn't vote for the Water and Sewer Advisory Board to begin with, because I think it has just delayed us. So I don't know what the best thing is. I guess I would make a motion that we resume negotiations with Southborough, and whether we also at this time approve the new members or not, that's fine with me. But
Is that a motion?
well, I should hear from everyone. I could make a motion that.
If you make a motion, it either has to be seconded or it's not. So if you want to do that, that's certainly within your right.
Okay. So I would make a motion that we would resume negotiations with Southborough for the time being. And it could be so we can move forward with our clean water solution for the town.
Can we make a motion on that with that not being on the agenda? I know this is kind of separate.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the MWRA was listed here.
Gotcha.
I was thinking that, but I think it's in order. So we have a motion on the table. Is there a second at this time? Hearing none, let's continue our
No, I
conversation.
have a question. And
Well, we gotta deal with the motion first. We can do a second, and you don't have to vote for it either if you don't want to. But following Robert's rules, the motion's out. Where's the second?
can we repeat the motion? I'm sorry.
I would like to make a motion that we resume negotiations with Southborough and the DCR on moving forward with the permanent PFAS solution of connecting with the MWRA.
I'll second it so we can discuss.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. Discussion.
Yeah, my discussion is for both this motion and the previous discussion. So I think we can solve both in one stone, which is we have 3 good candidates. Let's form the body and let the body do the job with the MWRA as we anticipated by the charter, and that will help move things quick, which is Amy's valid concern. So I also spoke to some of the candidates, and some are interested. It's been slow for various reasons, I'm sure. And in fact, one of the 3 candidates I spoke to said, "You're not getting people, I can get you 5 people, and quality good candidates." So I think there must be some, way many people probably didn't hear or didn't get the time. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling more positive that we can form it very quickly. And I am in favor of starting the 3 and having a quorum and continuing until we get the others. And I also appreciate Amy's concern, and I think we can solve it that way too. So if we quickly spin it up and quickly assign, the MWRA research and our advice on those and start even engaging in the negotiation, all these can be solved with that. And lastly, I think this is a very important and quickly, spreading problem across. New legislation's coming in, so I'm worried that, we are not keeping up fast enough, and we don't have the bandwidth. So that's why I'm keen on getting good people starting quickly. And I was part of appropriations committee for a long time, and I remember 2 years in a row, we didn't have enough quorum, more than 3 of us, and our attendance was 100% for 2 years. It was hard, but we did make it happen. So I'm sure with dedicated volunteers, we can manage that until we get more.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table and a second to resume negotiations with Southborough. The topic kind of creates the discussion around, should we go ahead and fill the committee first before we do that? I think is probably a good way to look at it, maybe. Mary Jo.
I think we really have to get the committee going, and I agree. I would like to put these 3 people on tonight. I have one question: is why is one position 1 year, one 2 year, and one 3 year, and we do know which ones they're applying for?
So that there'll be staggered terms for each of the members.
Excuse me?
So that there'll be staggered terms for members.
You start a new committee, it sets up,
staggered,
yeah.
So do you know which ones they want to be on?
Let's get into that if we come to the
Okay.
people, okay? Let's just, you know what I mean? You all right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Joe, kind of the motion and the discussion around going forward negotiations and some of the other ancillary topics.
So if we didn't initiate this advisory committee tonight, we would start that negotiation again. We would be the lead on that with the town manager's office, correct? DPW director, right? I just want to be reminded, who's been leading that so far?
Amy.
Town manager, chair of the select board, and DPW director.
Yeah.
So going forward will be the town manager, the assistant town manager, the committee, and the select board.
Well, the committee has only advisory.
And DPW director.
Yeah, so that's the thing. This committee is helping advise us, not them.
Correct.
That was the intention of it.
That's correct.
So, with that in mind, and looking at these people's backgrounds prior to this, these people are another set of qualified candidates that can help give us a different perspective on things. So I would want to move forward to get these three established, establish the committee, get them helping us as quickly as possible. And I'm not sure if I'd want to move forward immediately with the negotiations, but very shortly thereafter, I'd like those to start again as well.
Okay. Amy, any thoughts on the motion, the second, and the conversations thus far?
Well, so who paused the negotiations? The board did not do that, right? Like, how did we get in this position, like, where the negotiations stopped? Like,
So I think when this came up, the board decided that we would not continue, I think,
We did
until we
not,
had a
but-
committee formed. We were going to go put our energy into the committee and not our energy into the negotiations or whatever they were. Honestly, I don't know exactly what the discussion, I didn't even know we had negotiations going on. All I know is I got elected, became the chair, and the Southborough chair is emailing me every day saying, we need to do this now, we need to do this now. And I said to her one day, I go, do what? I didn't know what she was talking about. Like, so I think that's kind of where it started. And then the board discussed creating this committee in lieu of doing whatever they wanted to do at that time. So my philosophy is if we're going to spend $40 or $50 million or whatever it is, $30 million, I don't care. We need to all be on the same page in this town, and I don't think we are by a long stretch yet, because I don't think anybody really knows what's going on with it. But that's kind of my thought.
so at what point could we possibly resume work? Like,
From my seat, I think if we appoint these folks and get this committee up and running and say, this is the charge, this is what we need you to do, work with Lance, work with Carrie, work with the town manager, and get up there to Southborough and try and restart the engine with them, I think that can all be part of it.
And just to clarify, this committee, they'd right away be coming to us. Like in one of our next meetings, they'd be coming with their opinions from their experiences around water, right? Because again, we were very clear they were to advise us and not like the DPW and the town.
not interfere with the town.
I don't know if they could do that at the next meeting.
I'm not saying the
Soon,
next
yeah.
meeting, but again, they're coming
Right
as,
after the New Year.
but I think the purpose of this advisory committee was to get people with experience in water, right? So one of our upcoming meetings, I would expect them to be in there, and we'd get a recommendation from them. We'd get a recommendation from Kerry and the DPW. Town manager's office would give a recommendation as well. And maybe not like the final one, but to get us moving so that we could continue negotiations at that point, right? To get our feet underneath us. That's how I view it.
The Chair, I echo the same. I think Joe explained it well, the purpose of the committee and the expertise. And again, I think both can go in parallel to some extent. One thing I just want to connect the dots is that the advisory board committee would advise us, and then we would advise, the chair would be there and Elaine would be there. Then we would advise and set the direction from the town's body through the chair to Elaine and DPW director when they negotiate. They're, I would say, better armed with information, research, and recommendations and advice. That is the intent. It's not a disconnected competing, efforts. It's a jointed empowerment, in my view. So I would suggest that we form the committee, task them, and this is an immediate task to come back within certain time, not tomorrow, but a couple of weeks, few weeks, and then hear out what are the analysis and research we find from their expert opinion, and in the meantime, warm up the conversation, arming Elaine, Mr. Chair, and DPW Director with the information and research information. That's my take.
Okay, I think we've got enough conversation on the motion and the second and the topic in general. So let's clear the motion one way or the other first, and then we'll go from there. So we have a motion on the table to resume negotiations now, I think was the term, with Southborough specific to the interconnection agreement, correct? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, so we have 2 yeses. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
And we have 3 no's. So the motion fails for now. I think it's something that we're going to be revisiting very, very soon. So with that, in following the conversation we just had, are we inclined to appoint 3 very qualified individuals stepping forward to the Water and Sewer Advisory Board?
I am.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask one question. Did we get anything from the candidates on if, because we do have to do the 3-2-1 years, right? Do we have any recommendations on some of them 1-1, or is it just kind of?
No, I mean, when they applied, it was advertised as a 3-year term, but that there would be staggered terms at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, so I think there's an inclination for the board to go ahead and, knowing these individuals and seeing their credentials, appointing these 3 to the Water and Sewer Advisory Board to start the process of filling that board. The chair will entertain a motion to approve Donald Sutherland, Robert Scott, and Paul Gallagher to the Water and Sewer Advisory Board.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Specify the term length for each of them.
That'll be easy. Donald Sutherland would be 1 year, Robert Scott would be 2 years, and Paul Gallagher would be 3 years. Now, we could work that through with them, Elaine, and maybe the town manager's office and team could reach out and see what they're comfortable with, and then make a decision. We could put that to your discretion to sort out, but I think we should talk to them, first. It wouldn't be fair to say, Bob, you're lined up for 3 years, and, you know what I mean? So that would be in the motion if somebody wanted to make something like that.
I support the amendment as described.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, and there was a second?
Second again, if not.
A second from Mr. Clark to appoint those 3 individuals to the Water and Sewer Advisory Board, with the understanding that the town manager's office will reach out to the 3 applicants and discuss the length of term and sort that out using your discretion as to how to appoint. Any further discussion?
I just am going to predict that this is going to delay us 6 more months, and so it'll be a year before we get moving. So, it is what it is.
Okay. We'll do the motion. We can talk about it for a sec, maybe. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay, we have 4 yes, 1 abstention, and the motion carries. So we'll go ahead and appoint those 3 folks. Mrs. Ritterbusch raises a very legit concern around the timing of getting things going. Lance, not to put you on the spot, but you've got a lot of experience with this, and Carrie, maybe if you want to come up and jump in on this too. How can we accelerate the process of re-engaging now that we've got some folks that are going to help us from a citizen engagement level? How can we accelerate this again, do you think?
Well, I haven't had an opportunity to meet with the DPW yet, so I don't want to, say anything out of turn. But, I think, as soon as we can get these 3 individuals together and schedule a meeting to catch them up to speed is going to be critical. I think the key point now is evaluating our options and agreeing that the MWRA initiative is the direction the town wants to go based on the 3 alternatives. It seems like, for the most part, that seems to be the consensus. But as long as we can agree as a town that that's the option we're going to head for, then we can agree to start digging deeper on the Southborough negotiations. If there's any waffling on that issue, then we just want to work out those details now.
Okay, Carrie, thoughts?
My thoughts are that you provide that draft IMA directly to this board right away and make that their priority, review that. That's the crux of the negotiations with Southborough. Just because we sign the IMA doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly the route we're going, but it gives us the ability to move forward. We're stuck at a peer review for 30% design right now. So if we sign the IMA, we can move forward with that, and possibly there's an option to renegotiate. The issues with the IMA are not as much technical as they are financial. I honestly don't know how much this advisory board is going to help with that piece of it, but having them review that and see how much advice they can give you would be the first thing. And then I would also say simultaneously that we start looking at the technical ability. So we have some funding from annual town meeting that was approved to do the initial evaluation and engineering for the MWR connection. We still have available funding to move some of that forward. I think that we could continue that once we get past this peer review, but that we continue to, I think your word was socialize and find out exactly what the town wants to do. We have several options. We've been doing a lot more outreach lately. So if you follow our social media, you've been seeing stuff. We have pamphlets down in the town hall. We have information at the library, trying to get more feedback so that the select board feels more comfortable about that is the option that we think we need to go forward with. And I was speaking with Elaine too about, should we do a presentation at town meeting? There was one, I think, several years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago. The former DPW director did. There was no vote, I think, associated with it. It was just kind of an updated annual town meeting about what the process are. But that's where I would start, kind of the two, because we've got 2 questions of moving forward with the IMA and then moving forward with the MWA connection. And I don't think they have to necessarily be, the same.
Okay. And then Elaine, your thoughts on the process going forward? I probably should have come to you first, sorry.
I think everyone has great suggestions. I think the important thing is the forward motion. And the alternatives, there's a lot of information on the DPW's website, so there's a lot of information on the alternatives out there for people to take a look at. And I think keep messaging and talking about the importance of having safe, reliable, clean water is really important.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Through the chair, I have one clarifying question. So one thing I wanted to understand, and again, I'm collecting or gathering information until we have more deep dive into this, is that for joining the MWRA, we have to go to the State Water Board. And the State Water Board takes a year to 2 years just to review it in their queue. And right now where it stands is we never applied to them. They basically have no formal request that Hopkinton is even interested. But we are spending $1.5 million in the design and doing all the contracts and negotiation. That disconnect, I didn't fully understand if it's A, fact, and B, if it is, where does it put us and how can we remediate that? That makes sense, the question?
It does. So I believe the Water Resources Commission is aware that this is something that we're looking for. The MWA is aware that this is something we've talked to all these agencies. We've talked to ECR, we've talked to all the permitting agencies and start the initial work, have those conversations. So we wouldn't submit an application until we know that that's what the town's going to do and that we have further design. So it's kind of like what comes first, the horse or the cart. But I wouldn't say that they don't know that Hopkins is planning to be there. Matter of fact, I attended a meeting like last week, so I think they're seeing us. We have a resident that's on the commission, so I think they're very well aware that Hopkinton has been evaluating this. But I do think we need to get the design further along before we could actually put in an application. And there's a significant amount of permitting that would need to be done, and yes, that takes several years. So we kind of need to move it forward. No matter what option that we do, we're going to have to do some permitting and we're going to have to invest in engineering. So it's not like if we invest in the engineering and the evaluation for the MWA connection, that's a waste of money if we go to a different option, because we're still going to have the comparison and alternative analysis and a full understanding of what our needs are, which is kind of where we're at. No matter what, we need to do something. And whatever that something is going to require permissions, permitting, and a lot of cost.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I just worry that I feel all these are not, that's the purpose, right? I mentioned it. All these are not orchestrated enough and planned enough with these details. And I did see some of the, documents from the Water Commission, how they raise questions and it goes back and forth, and it is a tedious process. That's why I would, suggest that we also focus on that, so it kind of goes in parallel. I don't want to be in a position where we spend $3 million, have a great negotiated document or agreement, and the Water Commission says, come back in 3 years, or we are not interested, because they do have, many other applications as well. From what I heard, and some of the experts, some of my own going to their website and looking at their meeting minutes and some of those. So just thought, and that's why I think we're in a good path with, just formed Water Board who can also help you on that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. I think that trying to figure out a way to speed this process up and get those connections going with Southborough again makes an awful lot of sense. If we did the IMA, if we execute the IMA, is there a clause in there that says the town decided they're not in, they don't want to spend that kind of money, we can get out of the deal with Southborough, right? I would assume there's an exit clause here for us in this process. We don't want to sign an IMA that says, okay, Southborough, we're back in, but we don't have anybody saying we're going to spend $40 million in Hopkinton just yet, right? So how do we do that? We can't sign an IMA with Southborough that there's not an exit ramp.
We can read the IMA, right? Like, it exists, right? Right? Yes.
I'm sorry?
We can read the IMA, it exists, right?
But he's asking if it's in there now.
Okay, I don't have it in front of me to know.
Through the chair, we have our
Kyla has
legal counsel if we need some advice. I don't know if you saw the IMA.
Yeah,
but
we don't need to do it tonight. I'm just raising this question that, you know, I'm all for getting back with Southborough. I'm concerned that we're not going to have the money and then we're going to be on the hook with Southborough, and like, we just can't create some mess that we can't solve if we don't go the route.
Through the chair, I think Kyla Lapierre had an answer to the question.
There is a termination clause in the IMA.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, so with that, I think we're good for this evening. We've got those 3 members appointed, we'll figure out their terms. We want to speed it up, to Amy's point. We got an exit clause, that's great, but I think we got to get the group going and then we'll go from there. So we'll leave it at that for now, and let's move on to the next item, which is item number 11, the redactions policy. Town Council Brian Bertram is here with us. This is a topic that we've been discussing on and off for the last few months. The redactions policy has been before us a couple of times. We had a couple of drafts in front of us, and Brian was going to do a little bit more work and tightening a few things up, and he's here to update us this evening.
Yeah, so you have a new draft. You know, I think we're really into the fine details at this point. I don't know that I want to go through too much of it, other than to say that I think one of the items of interest from the last meeting was on AI and sort of using technology. To sort of frame it, and I'll try to make this quick, I mean, I'm not aware of any town that has a redaction policy, much less is sort of pushing into using AI and stuff like that. So you guys really are sort of the leaders. And as I was looking at the policy, and you can see in the draft, I sort of frame that part of it as principles, sort of direction, because I think we're going to have to rely on town staff. We're going to have to go through procurement process. Frankly, we're just going to have to test some stuff out as we go along. And, you know, sort of is a general observation on the overall policy as I was doing that was we really are going to be, you know, we know how to redact things, but we're going to be learning as we go in terms of achieving the efficiencies that we want to achieve and what we want to do here. So whatever you end up deciding on the policy, I would suggest that it is going to be learning as we go, as we do, as we find platforms, and that you may want to consider sort of letting it go, letting town staff start with that, and then, you know, I hate to say bring it back to the board again, but maybe in 6 months or so, sort of schedule a review. Sure. Sort of what have we learned, what have we done? I would suggest after you get through town meeting and sort of the whole lead up to that, but at some point in the summer. Because I suspect that once we really get into the weeds of this, we're going to learn a lot that we can't just learn behind a computer screen trying to think about everything that we're doing here. And it may very well be that we have some recommended changes to this as we get to that point.
At this point, though, you're comfortable with the board adopting the policy before us? Yeah. And then having a review down the road at 6-8 months, something like that?
Yeah, I would, I'm comfortable with this policy, and as I said, I would recommend, I would like to come back in here in 6 to 8 months, because I highly suspect that I did not get everything right in this policy, and that we're gonna have to think about making some changes to it to make it even better.
Elaine, your thoughts?
I agree with Brian. I think it's a great place to start, and we don't have a policy now, and it really helps guide town employees when they're reviewing records requests and looking at redactions. So I think it's a great place to start.
And you're open to the idea of some software or AI that would help us sort of double check or triple check the work?
Absolutely. You know, if something like that becomes available, we should definitely look into it.
Board members.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we should start with what we have and then look for that. And on the side, I work in AI a lot. I almost feel like I should build one if there's enough market.
A new market.
A new product. But it'll be very helpful. Yeah. But, I agree. I think we should move forward.
Who's the front here?
Well, we do have to move forward, and I do realize that we are the pioneers in this, basically, for the towns and the state. Nobody really is doing this, and being the first, we are going to run into changes, and policies going to change as we go along, but we do have to get started.
Mrs. Ritterbusch.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with getting started with this. there's all different software systems out there, so until we know what we're going to be using, I understand how that part has to be vague till we learn how it works for us.
Good. Joe?
I share their sentiments. I agree, it's better to get started. So I would actually move to adopt the redactions policy with the understanding that we'd be reviewing this, periodically starting within probably 6-7 months.
Okay. I think, I agree with my colleagues. I think this is something that is new for us, obviously, for obvious reasons. And I think it's an effort to improve our processes. I don't know if it's all figured out yet. I'm not a redaction expert. So I look forward to getting it underway. I look forward to the learnings. I know we're going to be super extra careful as we go through the process of implementing this and as we redact some documents. And then I'd like the idea very much of coming back in July of 25 and having a conversation about how it's going, how many FOIAs have we got? How many have we had to redact? How's it working? Is it slowing us down? Is it speeding us up? Have we made any mistakes? Okay, let's understand what they are, and then what do we learn from that? And then kind of fine tune it from there. So with that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the redactions policy as submitted to the board.
I move, so move. Yeah,
We have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Any further input? Good? Lane, you good? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Thank you. Thank you, Brian, for coming in. Appreciate your patience tonight.
Always a pleasure.
Okay, next up, budget update, FY26. The Select Board will receive an update on the FY26 budget process. Mrs. Lazarus. Hello, Kyla.
Good evening.
We got to start getting her at the beginning of meetings. She's always waiting until the end.
I know, I was thinking about that. I was trying to figure that out tonight, but
Budget's going to be up front sometime.
Tuesdays we're here till 7, I think, in general, right? Yes. So, I literally was thinking that, well, he's still here, like it's a work day today. Anyway, I apologize for the delay.
All right, so Kyla LaPierre, CFO, is joining us this evening, and we're going to provide you a little bit of an update where we are in the FY26 budget process. Just as an introduction, in the packet, you have the sources and uses of funding document as of December 12th. It includes all department requests and what we estimate the school department number might be. We'll find out later this week what their preliminary number is. And all meetings with, Kyla and I met with all department heads and have a consolidated view of the original submissions, and that's what's in front of you today. The budgets don't include any salary increases other than contractual obligations, and various union contracts still need to be negotiated, and some fluctuation there is to be expected as we move forward. So Kyla will talk a little bit about the numbers that are in the document in the packet.
So I'll go through a couple of the numbers just to highlight some assumptions and to confirm some numbers. So expected new growth for FY26 is expected to be less than FY25, so 1.6 million. Debt exclusion and obviously repayment amounts are expected to increase because of the amount of borrowing that's expected on the schools. State aid is still to be determined. We usually hear updates in January, but this, again, is just a very preliminary number. Free cash is estimated within this document based on the transfer to OPEB, which is a 2.5% increase from FY25, a flat transfer to stabilization from FY25, and a proposal of spending 6.5 million of free cash on capital projects. Again, that's just preliminary estimates based on what you all recommend as we go through this process. The capital requests have been reviewed and voted on by CIC. We finished that process last night. They will have their recommendation to Elaine by Thursday. CPC is due to have their recommendation to Elaine by Thursday as well. School budgets are not finalized, but they're estimated to be at 6.3% from FY25 to FY26. As you know, we're all going to the school committee meeting on Thursday to hear their budget, as well as have a joint discussion on the matter. Benefits and insurance are expected to increase between 8 and 12%. we have a $4.688 million shortfall in our operating budget compared to the revenue. So obviously, we have to make some significant cuts in the departmental budget requests. On average, if we were to take all the departmental requests compared to FY25, we should be coming in at 1.3%, not what you see here tonight, in order to balance this without using free cash or doing an override.
Can you give me those last few numbers again, please?
So all of the departmental requests you see here are the original requests submitted by the departments. They're coming in significantly high compared to FY26. You can see them, 6.6, 10%, 9.9, et cetera. The combined departmental expenses need to come in at 1.3% above FY25 in order for us to balance this budget without using free cash or doing an override.
All budgets, including the schools?
Yes.
1.3. Okay. And did you say, Elaine, that there were no increases in these budgets?
No salary increases other than existing contractual obligations. Correct.
Okay.
How does that, don't we have the teachers' union contract negotiation coming up? Does that not impact FY25,
It will impact FY26.
26?
We also have police, fire, dispatch. They're all up for contract negotiations this year.
And DPW.
So at a full 2.5 increase, right?
Yeah.
Plus the other things coming in, free cash and state aid, et cetera, all the budgets have to land at 1.3 to make it all flush out.
Correct.
That's a very tall order. What about health insurance? What about benefits? Where are we with that?
I left that because that's out of our control. I left that at 9.5%. That does not play into the 1.3% number.
That's above and beyond. I mean, that's always been a wild card for us up until the last minute if we do it right.
To the chair, just to clarify, so the estimate that you have for the insurance assumes what to make 1.3?
Assumes that it's going to come in at 9.7% increase over FY25. And if it comes in less than that, we have a little bit of wiggle room. If it comes in more, we have less.
I see. And last few years, I know except for 1 year, what has been the increase?
I think it was almost 9 last year.
So it's not a bad assumption. I mean, you'll make good assumptions, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
it's not out of range. Thank you.
We have a lot of work to do on the budget. I don't know the last time this town did an override. It was before 2007. I know that. And I think it was before 2000.
I think it
I think
was,
one
no.
failed in 2002 or 3.
No, I think 2007 it passed by like 11 votes. That's my memory.
I don't remember.
That's when we've had
That was
it.
the election I first got elected, so maybe that happened. But after that, we never had an override, I can assure you of that.
We started EHOP right at that time, after that one passed by just a tiny margin. So I'm pretty sure it was 2007.
Okay. I mean, that's a tough nut to swallow in town.
Well, I agree. People would not want.
You know, the 12.5 average homeowner's 850K house is going to pay 12.5 in 25, and in 29 or 30, whatever it is, they're going to pay 18.5, and that's before we talk about overrides or big trucks or this or that, right? I mean, it's just going to be extremely expensive and to some very difficult, if not unfair. Okay, well, we're not going to solve the budget problem tonight, but we have a problem on our hands. I think we all know that. We all knew it was coming, and now we're starting to see the numbers line up or not line up, as the case may be. But I think we should leave it at that, unless you guys want to get into some other gory details here.
I just had a couple of questions. if that's okay. For revenue sources, we did vote in that restaurant tax. Will we receive any of that by the time we get to Maytown meeting?
It starts in January. We're estimating 100,000.
So that's in here?
It's not in here yet.
Okay.
It's not really.
Not a million. Okay, and the same thing with a vehicle excise tax. We don't, that can be variable, like if everybody's trying to buy an electric car before the administration changes.
Correct. Excise tax is included in here at an 8% increase.
Okay, but it could go up even, well, still not $4 million, I'm sure. But those things are variable, it could change.
All set? Okay. Everybody good for now? We'll table it. Thank you for the update. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I had just a couple clarifications. So one is that we talked about kind of backtracking the cash that was unspent, aka free cash, and adjusting kind of a simulation on the budget so that, we don't talk about override and budget. If necessary, we do, of course, and then only to find out we have another $3 million as free cash. How confident do you feel that backtrack application has been done on the department asks?
So our free cash is not certified yet for this year. In our financial policies, we do not use free cash for our operating budget.
Sorry, I didn't probably say the questions right. So what I'm saying is we had 2.5 million in free cash, which came from unspent budget for the most part. So Department A asked for $1 million, but in reality spent 600,000. So 400,000 went to free cash. So this time when we are planning for Department A, we should ask, your baseline should be 600K because you did not spend 400K. So let's not ask for 1 million again, only to go above and beyond and talk about overrides and all that. So when we had this discussion, I think we exchanged it quite a bit. Can we have that as a principle, kind of backtracking all the free cash, only to make it a little more realistic, not going like cutthroat absolute numbers, because then we'll lose the buffer, but to a reasonable level. And the reason I'm saying that is it's often happens that we go through the budget crunch and there's a lot of tension and discussions and all that to save, say, $300,000, only to find we have 2.5 million at the end of the year that was unspent. Make sense what my question is?
It does. The direction from you all a few months ago was to do zero-based budgeting. So we actually did that exercise with all the department heads. We started at zero, they built it back up, and they had to justify what the expenses were that they're asking for us to cover.
Thank you. That was my question.
All good for now? Yes. Okay. We'll table this topic for now. Certainly a lot of work to do there. I'm confident that we can sort it out, but it's going to be an interesting ride.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, next up, kind of talking about the same thing, the May 5th, 2025 annual town meeting. The select board will consider voting to open the annual town meeting warrant on January 5th, 2025. Ms. Lazarus.
So that is the request, that the board vote to open the warrant on January 5th, and it will close on February 3rd.
Okay. Typically, when we open the warrant, at least in my experience in years past, sometimes the floodgates open and all kinds of stuff comes in that folks would like to purchase, whether it be additional staffing or new vehicles or new initiatives or new whatever. That's kind of what town meeting is all about. And then we decide those things at town meeting, and then we have to figure out how to make it all work. We had a great special town meeting recently. We had 0 financial articles other than we brought some money back into the coffers. I'm highly encouraging, as one member, that our departments and our boards and committees and volunteers, everybody understand that, just like we just talked about a second ago, we don't have the money for the wants, right? We have to look at the needs of the community and focus on that solely, we will not have the money for once in 2025 or the next several years after that. With that, is anybody interested in opening the warrant for February 23rd, or do they want to talk about it beforehand? Anybody want?
I'd move to open the May 5th, 2025 annual town meeting warrant on January 5th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the warrant for the annual town meeting. We'll open on January 5th. Comments, questions, comments on the motion? We have a second, sorry.
No, I think we have to open it because, like you said, then they all come in with all of their items, and we need that as soon as possible. So the sooner we open the warrant, the sooner the floodgates open.
So the sooner we can say no.
The sooner we say no, right.
Was there a second? I'm sorry.
sure.
Mr. Manon, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and thank you for those comments, Ms. Lafreniere. Mr. Manon, any comments on the motion?
Yeah, no, I would echo the same, but at the same time, we want to give enough time for residents to give their feedback, their wish list, and then we vet it out. But I would echo that we don't want any financial additional burden. And I always do a plug-in, which is we need economic development. So let's focus on that. We need more revenue, and cost cutting only is not going to help.
Okay. Anybody else? Nope. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Thank you. Item number 14, the town manager report.
Thank you. Just to highlight the Main Street Corridor project, a lot of the work to connect the buildings that are going underground has been accomplished and is still going on. Town Hall is connected, for example, and it went seamlessly. Eversource is on schedule for mid-December completion date. Verizon is last for overhead transfer work, but we're still waiting on a schedule from them. And they will start their work when all of the utilities have completed their work. They'll remove the old poles concurrently with their overhead transfers. And so we all look forward to those poles being removed at some point when they're ready to go.
Just a quick comment, if you drive down Main Street now and you've been observant of what's going on, you will count less wires going from the north side of the road to the south side of the road, meaning there's less wires already in downtown Hopkinton than there was a month ago, which is great to see. It's actual visual progress of what's going on here. In another month or two, hopefully you won't have any wires. But yes, excellent work. Thank you.
And secondly, there's a town position vacancy request, and that is for DPW summer intern for this summer. There's a memo in the packet from Carrie Reed describing the purpose for the intern's work that indicates that it's covered in the budget, and they're looking forward to hopefully having someone for the summer.
Okay. Anything else?
The other item is, just because we passed over a little bit in the packet, that there was a spreadsheet of citizen responses to the online budget listening form. So when you have a chance, take a look at the responses in there.
Yeah, that's
good. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Elaine, I'm happy to hear about the intern program. I always like the intern programs because it helps the youth as well as in learning and as well as for some of the work. So this intern maybe help with the recycling. Operational problem solving. But just to understand, do we have intern program across the town various departments?
We do occasionally have interns here and there, sometimes paid, sometimes unpaid, in various departments year-round.
That's great. I would heavily encourage that and also recruit from our high schools or town youth. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we should go back to that topic or stay on that topic for a moment. We need to vote to authorize the posting of the DPW summer intern position. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I move the motion to authorize the DPW summer intern position.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Anything else, Elaine?
No, thank you.
Liaison reports.
I just had a question, town manager's report. Are we going to be having the all-hands meeting like we did in previous years?
Not this year.
Oh, we're not, okay.
It's a lot to manage, right?
It is, yeah. Okay, I think it is valuable for the public and all the committees to see, though, if we can do it next year.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Especially when we're going to have to maybe make some cuts, so.
Right.
Okay, liaison reports. Mrs. Ritterbusch, anything?
I don't think I have anything. No, I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Mr. Clark?
Nope, I'm good.
I'm good. Ms. Lefreniere?
I went to the MWRTA meeting, or I Zoomed in, and just a couple of points. I mean, they're doing well, they're moving forward, they're getting new buses, they're supposed to be off the line. They're going down to get them like in a month or so. And they've had a 41% increase in ridership this summer, and from this fall, it's gone up to 50-something percent, and some of that is COVID. COVID people are coming back to public transportation, so they're finding an increase in ridership, and I think the new buses are going to help a lot in the new routes.
Thank you. Mr. Manon, anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Item number, sorry, go ahead.
No, I have their finances. If anybody's interested in looking at what the MWRTA does, I've got them, so they can copies from me.
Item number 16, future board agenda items. Mr. Manon, anything?
No, I think we have quite a few that we can cover in the next couple of months. So nothing to add at this time.
Ms. Lefreniere, anything?
No, not really. Budget is all the concern I have right now.
Okay. Mr. Clark?
Nope, nothing new.
Mrs. Ritterbusch?
No, I think we have enough on the list for the moment.
Good? Okay.
Actually, just for the redaction policies, do we want to like take this off since we approved it?
Yeah.
But like put something on for July? You know what I mean? I think we just agreed to revisit in the summer, but do we need to do that now?
We can put that on the list, sure. So for a future, in summer of 25.
It's a ways out, but.
Redactions policy review, okay? We did touch on also item 8, a little bit on item 9, so we're making some progress on a couple of them. But there's a couple of them that have been here that we started off strong, ticking these off, and then we got busy. I would actually think we should talk about adding one, and that is, I think we got to get our head around our water safety protocols. We've had several presentations about what's wrong with what we're doing in certain areas of town, and I think that we need to get some formal oversight of that and not just have some residents showing us what we're not doing properly. So let's get proactive in the reactive mode of fixing it, if that makes any sense.
If something needs to be fixed.
If something needs to be fixed, so fine, fair enough. But let's have that on there at some point to discuss, okay? With that, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.